say, for any of your financial transactions. So depending on the bank, right, whether it is State Bank of India or ICICI Bank or HDFC Bank, right? So this OTP will be valid for the transaction, maybe varying from 5 minutes to 20 minutes, depending on the policy of the particular bank. So what you should understand is what should be the minimum size of the key that is required, so that the key cannot be known to the hacker in the real time. Real time means, I gave an example of 5 to 20 minutes, right? So you should not be able to break that so that you come to know the OTP or whatever it is. So key is very important, and we find that from the literature that minimum key size that has been used in the practical algorithms is 64 bits, right? So 64-bit key, if you want to hack it, so by brute force attack, you need to try 2 to the power of 64 possible combinations of that particular key. And 2 to the power of 64 is a huge number. 2 to the power of 64 is a huge number. You can calculate it later on after the class is over. And then if you think of any machine like whatever desktop and laptop that we use, right? Maybe a Intel processor, right? Intel processor, Core 2 Duo, right? Maybe the latest generation, right? With a 3 gigahertz processor. So you will find that with a single laptop or single desktop, to know the key, which is of 64 bits, which is having a 2 to the power of 64 possible combinations. So it takes around 600 years, right? 600 years with one single machine, which you are using in our day-to-day life. So 600 years is a very huge time, right, to know. But what will happen if you use a supercomputer like Param, right? Param computer or any other supercomputer which is available in the world? Then also you will find that even supercomputer also takes a reasonably good time, right? Which is not going to be definitely 20 minutes, right? So therefore, a 64-bit key, which is practically used, is a very safe key. And that is the reason in your practical cryptography algorithm like DES, right? DES1, Data Encryption Standard 1, the key size, right, in DES1 used is 64 bits originally, then transformed to 56 and so on as per the requirement of the algorithm. So 64-bit key is a minimum key that is known, right? Minimum key that is known in the popular DES1. And then you will see in DES2, DES3, right? And then AES, Advanced Encryption Standard, and you will see a bigger key size than even 64 bits. So that it is next to impossible for the hacker to know the key in real time. So, right. So from this, we understand that algorithms are usually public, encryption, decryption algorithm. Key is the one which is the strength for the security of the communication process that is to be kept secret, and length of the key is also very important to maintain the secrecy in the communication. Okay, so based on this, cryptography techniques are broadly divided into two broad categories. One is symmetric key cryptography, other one is asymmetric key cryptography. So let us focus on this symmetric key cryptography only, because I saw the schedule that there is a session you have on asymmetric key cryptography from RSA to lattice structures. So I may just touch the asymmetric key cryptography. I may not go into the details because you have a separate session on this. And I also saw that you have very higher end sessions like cloud security, you have edge security, right? And I also saw something on blockchain technology. So you are really fortunate, right? We are really fortunate that you are being introduced to latest techniques of cybersecurity, cryptography. You are really fortunate, right? So I still believe that when I started this subject in 2007 in our PG programs here in Chandigarh, right? I have not studied this subject earlier, right? So I need to study on my own, search the literature, and then develop the knowledge and skill that is required. So you're really fortunate that you are attending this program and trying to understand. And it's a beautiful subject, cybersecurity and cryptography. And India also needs a lot of cybersecurity experts because of various online frauds, attacks, right? Cyber attacks. Cyber attacks have all the more increased because of COVID-19, and many activities have been shifted to online. So therefore, cybersecurity plays a very, very important role in the today's era. And a lot of experts are required for countries like India. right? We are a huge country, and there's a dearth of experts in this particular area. And because you're all teachers, so you have a responsibility. And I suggest that you take interest in this subject and you become experts, and you motivate your students to take up this cybersecurity as a career opportunity, so that India also has enough of cybersecurity experts to face any threats, right? Any threats and any attacks that are being posed by these hackers. Okay. So symmetric key cryptography is very simple, right? Very simple. You can see here, there is a sender here, there is a receiver B, right? And you can see here, sender wants to send this plain text, right? Plain text. And what it does is it uses an encryption technique with symmetric key K, right? Symmetric key K, and it produces a ciphertext, right? And this is being traveled over the network, right? Because sender and receiver are separated by a geographical distance. So receiver receives this ciphertext, which is transmitted by the sender, and then receiver applies a decryption technique corresponding to the encryption technique, which is used by the sender, with the same symmetric key K, right? Whatever key that I have used on the sender side, that is K, same key has to be used by the receiver to decrypt this particular ciphertext which is received from the sender. So as I told you, in encryption and decryption process, two things are important. One is encryption algorithm and the key, right? Here it is symmetric key, and in the decryption, it is a decryption algorithm and the same key that is used, right, to produce this ciphertext. Okay, then you will get back to the plain text, and the receiver will process this, and accordingly it will respond to the sender as per the requirement. So what is the one of the important thing that you should observe here is sender and receiver are usually separated by a geographical distance, right, over a network. And the problem here is how to share this symmetric key K, right? Because the same key has to be used by the receiver also, right? So that is the one of the biggest challenge, right, that you can see, right? Anyway, just 1 minute, right? So one of the issues is that, and for your information, that there are many symmetric key cryptography techniques, right? The crux of the symmetric key is same key will be used for encryption, that is at the sender side, and decryption at the receiver side. Some of the popular practical symmetric key cryptography algorithms which are used in practice till today, right? One is this DES, data encryption standard, right? Data encryption standard 1 is also there, data encryption standard 3 is also there, right? Data encryption standard 1 means it is single key. Data encryption standard 3 means there are 3 keys, right? 3 keys will be used on the algorithm, in the algorithm to produce a ciphertext for a given plain text. Another popular algorithm is IDEA, International Data Encryption Algorithm. International Data Encryption Algorithm. Then you also have this Rivest Cipher 5, right? Rivest Cipher 5 is named after Ron Rivest. He was the inventor, right? He was the professor at MIT, Ron Rivest. Ron Rivest is the one who is also the inventor of RSA, right? Which I think will be covered in the next class. I will also just touch upon the name in the coming slides. And then there is something called a blowfish symmetric key algorithm also. And this is also very popular advanced encryption standard, right? This advanced encryption standard is used in your Wi-Fi, right? Whatever Wi-Fi network you are using, right? When you go to the security settings, you will also find that it is based on advanced encryption standard. So DES1 and DES3 are used in financial transactions, right? And even AES is used in Wi-Fi and other many practical applications. So all these algorithms, symmetric algorithms which are listed here, they are practical in nature, right? They are being used till today, and they are giving a lot of security to the communication that is being happening on the network or over the internet. The beauty of all these symmetric algorithms, right? Whether it is DES, whether it is IDEA, whether it is AES, they are very fast, right? Because of their nature of operations that are involved in the encryption and decryption process. So all symmetric key algorithms, irrespective of their name, right? They are very fast compared to the asymmetric key cryptography algorithms because they use very simple operations in the encryption and decryption process, like shuffling the data, right? Shuffling the data or shifting the data, like left shift, right shift, right? and then expansion permutations, right? Some permutations are used, right? Permutation is again shuffling only, right? Sometimes you expand it, sometimes you contract it, right? So the maximum operation that is used is exclusive OR, right? So shuffling is used, shifting is used, and then exclusive OR is used. So all are very simple operations with respect to computational complexity. So therefore, all symmetric algorithms in general, they are very fast, whether you implement them in hardware, whether you implement them software, compared to the asymmetric cryptography algorithms that you will study later. So what is the challenge? As you see in this diagram, right? You can look at this diagram, you can see that the key that is used, that is K, the same key has to be used by the receiver also. The question here is how to share this key. So it is known as key exchange problem or key distribution problem. Key exchange problem or key distribution problem, which is a bigger problem in symmetric key cryptography. That means the key that I use for encryption, how to share that same key with the receiver so the receiver can decrypt it safely and then it can get back to the plain text. So that is the biggest problem. The advantage of symmetric key is they're very fast, very fast. So good is very fast, but the bad is how to exchange this key safely. Other important challenge in symmetric key cryptography is the large number of keys that is required for a given n number of users or communicating parties, right? In internet, right? Any participant, can you tell that what are the number of users, internet users in the world as on today, approximately? Number of internet users. You can use the chat window, or you can unmute yourselves and then say. Question is, what is the approximate number of internet users in the world? Any participant? Are you able to hear me? This is the problem of taking class after lunch, right? Dr. Sangram, you have given me a class immediately after lunch.
No, sir, I can hear you. We are hearing you.
Oh, you are hearing. Okay, that's good. Yeah, so I thought that it's very difficult, right? After lunch, immediately after lunch, taking class is very difficult. Keeping you active, right?
800 million, sir.
Exactly.
Yeah, anybody? What is the approximate number of internet users in the world as on today? Approximate number.
8 billion, sir.
Huh?
In chat box, they are replying 7.8 billion, 10 billion, like that.
Yeah, I am not asking about world population. I am talking about internet users. Actually, all are not using internet, right? 7.5 billion, that is 750 crores. 750 crore, all people are not using internet.
Yes.
4.66 billion.
1.66, okay.
No, 4.66 billion.
Okay, so you are little far away from the answer.
4.5 billion, sir.
4.5 billion. Okay, you are little ahead, right? You have gone away from the answer, right? On the higher side. That's good guess, right? So anyway, so for your information, there are approximately around 300 crores. That is 3 billion, right? 3 billion. BILLION. 3 billion or 300 crores of internet users, right? Approximately. And this number is increasing. This number is increasing in a doubly exponential fashion or more than that. Every day or every year it is increasing because more and more people and more devices are getting connected to internet. Now you think of Internet of Things, right? Internet, earlier only people are using this. Currently people are using this internet. Now in the days to come, and already, right, Internet of Things have taken a good shape, and even the things are assigned IP addresses, and they would like to get connected to internet and exchange information so that they provide some services to people like you and me, right? So why I told you this number is, if the internet users are increasing, right, drastically in a doubly exponential fashion, so number of keys required to have a safe communication using symmetric cryptography for n number of users, let us say 300 crore users, right? Let us say 300 crores of users. It is too large, right? So it follows an equation called n into n minus 1 divided by 2, right? N is the number of users. So if you put in this equation 300 crores, right? Can anybody tell me what is this number? How many keys are required? So it is 300 crores n, 300 crores minus 1 divided by 2. So how many crores? How many crores of keys are required? So n is 300 crores. 300 crore means 300 into 10 to the power of 7. Because 1 crore will be having 7 zeros, right? 1 followed by 7 zeros. So n is 300 in 10 to the power of 7 multiplied by 300 into 10 to the power of 7 divided by 2. So what is this number? Anybody? Any quick answer? Quick answer.
Please reply.
Huh?
Participants, please reply. It's going to be an interactive session.
Yeah. They are not knowing this is an interactive session.
Participants, actually they are instructed to, if they have any query, they will write it in chat box.
Oh, no problem, right? But in the next slides, they should also keep a calculator with them, right? I will give them a task also. They need to do it.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. I don't like as a teacher one-way class. I cannot do a one-way class.
So you are requested to respond.
Yeah. So you just tell me number of keys required for 300 crore users using this formula. 300 in 10 to the power of 7 multiplied by 300 in 10 to the power of 7 divided by 2. How much it is? I have told the answer also. Only you have to put it in a simplified form, nothing else. Anybody?
Mr. Nikhil Khandare, you should answer.
What is the answer?
Nikhil Khandare.
500 crores, sir.
Yeah. What is the answer, Nikhilji?
It's Subramaniam, sir. Please repeat your answer.
It is 500 crores.
What is that? Actually, I am not able to see the chat window. Yes.
Sir, we have answered in that section.
Okay. Somebody has written
5 billion.
somebody has written 1 billion keys. How did you get this number? I gave you the format how to calculate, right? 300 in 10 to the power of 7 into 300 in 10 to the power of 7 minus 1. I am not doing it because minus 1 if you don't do it doesn't make any difference. Divided by 2. So you should get it as 45,000 multiplied by 10 to the power of 14, right? 45,000 multiplied by 10 to the power of 14 number of keys are required. That is a very huge number. Very simple. How did you get it? 300 into 10 to the power of 7 into 300 in 10 to the power of 7 divided by 2, right? So 2 is also there. So it is 300 into 150 into 10 to the power of 14. So 45,000 into 10 to the power of 14 number of keys are required if 300 crore internet users wants to have a safe communication using your symmetric key cryptography technique. So that's a huge number. The problem is where to store these keys, right? Good. Somebody has written here, Sonal Bishe. So your 44,000
Yes, sir.
you got it, but still it is not correct, right? Still it is not correct. So it is 10 to the power of 14, not crores. Okay. So you just check it and you will come to know that it is a huge number. The question here is how to store these so many number of keys, right? That means you need to have a third party which can store these many number of keys to distribute these keys safely and securely. And apart from this, they need to maintain this. So what is the problem with the maintenance? Because there are people like me who says that I have lost my key. There are people like you who will say that somebody has stolen my key. There are people like that, they say that, okay, I forgot my key. So there are many issues, right? There are many issues. So first of all, you need to have a trusted third party whom you can trust to store these keys, and then they need to distribute these keys safely and securely, which is going to be a very, very big problem in the asymmetric key cryptography. Asymmetric key cryptography, right? The number of keys required is very large, and then storing them and then managing these keys, maintaining these keys is also a big problem. So let us see how the researchers have addressed these two problems of key exchange in the symmetric key cryptography and the large number of keys required for a given number of n number of users, that is n into n minus 1 by 2, right? Okay, this is a exercise. Can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I will read out this problem. You need to solve this, not now, but you can take a snapshot of this slide, okay, and you can answer this. You can answer this. You can answer this later on. So take a snapshot, right, with your mobile phone, and then you can answer this on the last day of the program, right, before the valediction. And Dr. Sangram, I will also be joining, right, for a valediction. And I will listen to the participants, the answer for this question.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Right. Have you taken the snapshot of this? Question is very clear. If anybody is having any doubt, you have a mail ID. Even Dr. Sangram is also having. You can talk to me on email, or you can talk to me on my mobile phone also. Sangram is having. Right? You can do that. You can also exchange on WhatsApp. And I would like to listen to you, right? I would like to listen to you. This is a very simple question, but interesting question. Why symmetric key cryptography? This is a challenge, right? This is a challenge. Okay, right. So the first problem, that is key exchange problem or key distribution problem in symmetric key cryptography, has been addressed by two people, Diffie and Hellman key exchange protocol. Diffie and Hellman key exchange protocol, or it's also known as DH key exchange protocol in short, right? In short. So here, because you're all teachers, again, you should remember Diffie-Hellman key exchange protocol has been proposed around 1971 to 1975, right? 1971 to 1975, when many of us are not born. Many of us are not born. Even if you are born, right, you may be a small child. You may be a small child between 1971 and 1975. That is number one fact that you should remember, that Diffie-Hellman key exchange protocol has been proposed, developed by Diffie and Hellman, two people, between 1971 and 1975. Other important thing as a teacher you should remember is, right, Diffie was the student of Hellman. Diffie was the student of Hellman. So that means Diffie is a student, Hellman was a professor like you and me, right? So a student and a teacher has developed this key exchange protocol between 1971 and 1975, and it is being used today. It is being used today. That is the reason you hear from the people, if you want to lead the world, right, you have to be 50 years ahead of others, 50 years ahead of others, right? So 1971 and today is 2020 is almost 50 years, right? It is 50 years. So 50 years back, a student and a teacher has studied symmetric key cryptography, what is a challenge called key exchange problem, and they proposed a solution. So never ever underestimate your students, and also see that your students will not underestimate you, right? So Diffie was a student, Hellman was a professor who developed this key exchange protocol 50 years before, right? So they have demonstrated with their algorithm, the Diffie-Hellman key exchange solves the problem of key exchange problem on symmetric key cryptography. So we will see in the next slide. It's a very simple algorithm, right? You all can understand very easily, right? Alice and Bob. Alice is the sender, Bob is the receiver, because it has been developed by Diffie and Hellman outside India. So naturally they have names like Alice and Bob, can decide upon a key without meeting. No secrets are exchanged, and yet a secret key can be agreed upon by Alice and Bob. Let us see this algorithm. So Diffie-Hellman key exchange are very simple, right? Listen very carefully to me. I'll give you one example, then you will solve that, right? And after that, we will take another 10-15 minutes, we'll wind up, right? I'll not take much time. Like I have given only 1 hour time. So first step in this Diffie-Hellman key exchange is Alice and Bob, right? Alice is the sender, Bob is the receiver. They agree on 2 large prime numbers, right? What is a prime number? We all know, right? We have studied in the elementary classes. And after we passed out engineering, right, BTech, MTech and PhD also, and we joined as teachers or maybe in the software industry, especially in the software industry or any other industry, students started asking that why a teacher is teaching me about the prime numbers where I'm not going to use anywhere, right? They ask these questions. Why prime numbers are being taught, prime number theory is taught, why cos theta and sin theta, tan theta is taught, but we don't know where they're going to be used. But you can see here, the 2 large prime numbers are used in a cryptography setup or encryption, decryption techniques also will find that these numbers are used, prime numbers are used. So you need to generate 2 large prime numbers. How large? As large as possible. And the other question to all the participants is, what is the largest prime number available in the world as on today? What is the largest prime number? That means how many digits prime number is the prime number available in the world today? That is a question to you. You can find out from the Google and you will see that what is the largest prime number with so many digits is available in the world today. So Alice and Bob, right? 2 large prime numbers, they will agree. So one prime number is called N, other prime number is called Z. These 2 prime numbers need not be kept secret, right? They are not secret. That means N and G, 2 prime numbers which has been generated by Alice and shared with Bob, they are not secret. The meaning is very simple. That means they have been transmitted on an insecure channel, right? No encryption, no decryption, right? So whatever Alice is transmitting, that is N and G, that is being received by Bob also. It is received by anybody in between Alice and Bob also, because they are traveling on an insecure channel. That means if I am the hacker in between Alice and Bob, I can also capture this N and G, right? Second step is, after agreeing this N and G between Alice and Bob, second step is Alice, here the sender, chooses another large random number X, random integer number X. How to generate a random number? Anybody quickly? How to generate a random integer number? Dr. Sangram, they can unmute their mics if they want.
It is on their hand. They can
Okay, they can do it. Okay. So how to generate?
By using random number generator, pseudo random number generator.
Can any function can you tell?
LFSR based streams have this LFSR can be used to generate random numbers like Jiffy generator.
Okay. Which language you are talking about? Which language?
Random of function in Java.
Yes. Yeah. Both of you are correct. Madam has told a simpler version that there is a rand function, there is a random function available in most of the compilers. Most of the compilers, right? Most of the compilers. So you can use a random function, and even other function other gentleman has told. So you can use this random number generator functions which are available in many of the programming languages, and you can generate a large random integer number X, right? How large? As large as possible, right? So that this should not be decrypted, right? This could not be hacked. So that should be the size of the number. N and G also same, right? How large a prime number? As large as possible, so that your communication is not hacked, right? N is large, G is large, X is also large, and then calculates A. So A is what? Alice number, right? Alice number, A is calculating. That is G to the power of X mod N. So N and G is actually generated by Alice only. That means N value is known to Alice, G value is known to Alice, right? X is actually generated by Alice only, right? So the problem here is, you can understand, N and G are generated by Alice and shared with Bob also. So while sharing, anybody else also might have captured this N and G, right? Hacker also might have captured this N and G because it traveled on an insecure channel. So what is secret here is X, right? X is secret, or you can also call it as a private key. right? X is a private key to the allies because this X is not shared with anybody. X is not shared with anybody. So A is G to the power of X mod n, in which N and G are public. X is private to allies only, which is secret. So whatever number that comes after solving this equation, allies sends that number A to Bob, receiver, right? And again, this A value also is transmitted on insecure channel. So it is received by Bob also, it is received by any hacker also who is in between allies and Bob. So allies is having N and G, allies is having X, which is secret. Allies is having A also, right? And Bob is having N and G. Bob has received A also, right? And hacker also has received this N and G. Hacker has also received A, right? So whatever Bob is having, hacker is also having. What hacker is not having is the value of X, right? Which is the secret key to allies. Now let us see what the receiver will do. So Bob independently chooses another large random integer number Y. Again, same rand function, you can use it. And you can generate this random integer number as large as possible. And Bob calculates B. B is what? G to the power of Y mod n. So N and G was shared by allies. Y is generated by Bob himself or herself, right? So Y is a secret key to Bob, which is not known to allies, which is also not known to hacker, So whatever is the B value, now Bob sends this B value to allies sender, right? So now you can see what is known to allies. Allies knows N, G, B. And X is generated by allies himself and it is secret. And what the Bob knows, Bob also knows N, G and the value of A, right? They are public. And Y is secret to Bob. Now what they will do at step number 6, now allies compute the secret key K1. K1 is what? B to the power of X mod n. So N is known to allies. B has been received from Bob. X is secret to allies himself. Now what the Bob does, Bob now computes the secret key K2. K2 is A to the power of Y mod n. So N has been shared by allies only with the Bob. And A also has been shared by allies only with the Bob. And Y is secret to Bob. So if you observe these two equations, K1 and K2 very carefully, right? And if you substitute these values of B and A from here, right? What is A? G to the power of X mod n. Substitute it here, right? In the A place. And similarly, G to the power of Y mod n for B in the K1 equation. Then you will find very interestingly, this is going to be K1 is equal to K2. So if you look at this whole Diffie-Hellman key exchange protocol, actually key is not exchanged. Rather, key is determined. That is the reason in some of the books you will find this as Diffie-Hellman key determination protocol. Right? In some of the books you will find this as Diffie-Hellman key determination protocol, which solves the problem of key exchange in symmetric key cryptography. So actually key is determined by allies and Bob independently by exchanging some numbers, right? By exchanging some numbers and following a procedure. And at the end of the algorithm, you will find that whatever key sender has generated, same key has been generated by the receiver also. So that is exactly the requirement of symmetric key cryptography. Without sharing the key, without exchanging the key, how a key can be agreed by the sender and receiver so that you can have a secure communication. That means if you, one of the problem is solved, right? Key exchange problem or key determination problem is solved by Diffie and Hellman using this particular algorithm, which arises in a symmetric key cryptography technique, right? So if you are clear about this algorithm, right? Any doubt you have? If you don't have any doubt, I'll give you one small task. So you will use those small numbers and calculate and tell me what is A, what is B, what is K1 and K2. Any question you have, please let me know. Otherwise, I'll show you the problem, right? That you need to solve in 5 minutes. Yeah, I have no question. This is the problem, right? So write down this problem numbers quickly. N is 11. So it's one prime number. G is 7, another prime number. Algorithm says you need to take large prime numbers, right? as large as possible. But for understanding purpose, I have taken very small prime numbers so that you understand the algorithm. So when you actually implement, right? When you actually implement, you need to take a large prime numbers. Okay. And X is the secret key of Alice, that is 3. This is also supposed to be very large, but I have taken very small. And Y is the secret key of Bob, that is 6. So N is 11, G is 7, X is 3, Y is 6. You have to determine K1 and K2, right? You have to determine K1 and K2. So if you have written down these values, I'll put the algorithm. So please let me know, right? First you tell me what is the value of A, what is the value of B, then you tell me what is the value of K1 and K2. Hope the question is clear to you, right? If any doubt, please let me know. Yeah, quickly, only 5 minutes. It is 2:50. I'll wait up to only 2:54. Because Dr. Sangram has given me only 1 hour time. Yeah, Shreya Ranjan says A is 2. So let us hear from others also. Shreya says B is 4. Om Shankar Singh, A is 1. How did you get A is 1? Please check your calculations. Please check your calculations. Yeah, please check your calculation. Om Shankar Singh, please check your calculations. A cannot be 1. See what you have studied in the elementary classes, now it is being used here. Right? You always asked teachers, where am I going to use these prime numbers in practical way? Where am I going to use random numbers in a practical way? Right? You might have asked the question where I'm going to use this large exponentiation. And you can see that these all things are used in Diffie-Hellman key determination protocol. Nikhil says that key is 9. Very good. Aman Sikanwar is 9 is what? Yeah, Om Shankar Singh, you have changed your answer, right? A is 2 now. Good, very good. Yeah, Aman Sikarkar, okay, shared secret key. Good, very good. Yeah, Amrit Bir Singh, A is 2, B is 1. How did you get B is 1? You recalculate B value again. Amrit Bir Singh, please calculate the value of B again. Ubali Haldar, very good. A is 2, B is 4. Please calculate the K1 and K2 also. Dr. Sangram, these are very smart people, smart teachers you have.
Yes, all are smart.
Yeah, very smart people. Very, very sincere also.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I liked it. This is one of the best participants that I have seen ever. So prompt in responding. Wow, Sonal Bissi, Abhishek Dahal, very good. A2, B4, K9. Seems to be they're all very good in mathematics. Very good in mathematics. Very good. Yeah, good. So my time is up. So let me continue further with the lecture, right? So those who have got A value as 2, B value as 4, and K value as 9, that is K1 and K2, you are all correct, right? So you understand that it's a very simple algorithm, right? Devised in 1971 to 1975 by Diffie and Hellman, a student and a teacher. I always emphasize this because these days our problem is identity, right? A student comes to Ramakrishna's class thinking that Ramakrishna became a teacher because he could not get any other software job. Okay. And the teacher, like Ramakrishna, thinks that the student has come to my institute because he did not get seat anywhere else. So forget about these things, right? Don't keep these things in your mind. Whoever student comes, right? Take those students, work on them, create that confidence, right? Create that confidence in the students so that they know that you know many things and you can teach them, you can impart them some skills, right? So that they give value to you and you both can work together, right? Like a Diffie and Hellman, and comes up with a very nice algorithm in the days to come, because India is also, right, eager to become a superpower, right? Superpower in the world, right? Superpower in the world. So you need to develop such type of techniques, such type of protocols, which is going to be used by the world maybe next after 20 years or 30 years from today, right? So Diffie-Hellman was never knowing that whatever they have developed in 1971 and 75, that is going to be used today in practice, right? And you will see many other algorithms, even RSA algorithm also, when you see that RSA also was developed in 1977, right? 1977, when we were small children, many of us are very small children, right? But there is a RSA algorithm has been developed. Again, if you see RSA also, R stands for Ron Rivest. Ron Rivest was a professor at MIT, and S and A, Shamir and Adilman, they are the students of Ron Rivest. Ron Rivest was professor, Shamir Adilman was his students working at MIT USA, and they produced this RSA algorithm, which is a challenge for the whole world till today. The algorithm developed in 1977, and it is an open challenge for all of us, who are interested in cybersecurity, to break this algorithm. And nobody has broken it till today. RSA algorithm developed in 1977 by a professor and two students, which is used in practice, right, in digital signatures, and it is an open challenge to all of us to break this, and nobody has broken it till today, right? So what is developed 40-45 years before is a challenge till today. So if you can develop such type of algorithms, and we are definitely going to be ahead of all others in the world, right? So let us go back to our presentation quickly. Okay, so this screen is visible, Dr. Sangram?
Visual, sir.
Yes, good, very good. So many of you participants, you are very nice. You are very good in mathematics, and you all have solved correctly. And this is the answer, right? So if your answer is this, you are exactly in line with me, right? You are exactly in line with me, and many of you have done it correctly. Many of you, or most of you, have done it correctly. Yeah, this is another assignment, right, which you will be showing to Dr. Sangram before your certificates are distributed online, right? Write a program to determine K1 and K2 when N and G are 10-digit prime numbers and X and Y contains 10 digits each. Okay. So I gave this question purposefully to you. You can use any language of your choice, right? You can write in C, you can write in C++, you can write in Java, you can write in Python. The language is your choice, but the question has to be solved. Question has to be solved by writing a program. Even you can share it with me also, right? But you ensure that N and G, right, both of them are 10 digits each. X and Y also 10 digits each, integer numbers. Okay. So take this as assignment. And if you can solve it, you can mail it to me. I can check it and return it to you. Or you can show to Sangram, Dr. Sangram, and then I'll ask him on Friday, right? Maybe on the last day of the course.
They can
Yes.
write the program and send to me, and I will compile and I will send you to them.
Yes. So this is a task, right? This is a task that is given. Okay. Yeah. One more thing you should remember: Diffie-Hellman is a very wonderful key determination protocol developed by Diffie and Hellman, but it suffers from a problem called man-in-the-middle attack. Right? It suffers from a attack called man-in-the-middle attack because of less time. Right? I am not going to demonstrate this man-in-the-middle attack. Rather, I am giving another task to you. Right? You can find this in any book. Right? If you don't find it, I can share the slide with an example. You can follow that, and you can solve this also. This example also you can solve it. So Diffie-Hellman is a wonderful scheme, but it suffers from man-in-the-middle attack. Right? That means between the sender and receiver, if a hacker is there, right? If a hacker is there, he can hijack the communication. So Diffie-Hellman cannot be used in practice as it is, because it suffers from man-in-the-middle attack, which has been successfully demonstrated by other researchers. And Diffie-Hellman has been modified to prevent this man-in-the-middle attack, right? That is known as Oakley key determination protocol. Oakley key determination protocol. I just write it in the chat window. Oakley, right? Key determination. Yeah, Oakley key determination protocol. So Oakley key determination protocol is a modification to Diffie-Hellman, right? To take care of this man-in-the-middle attack. And this Diffie-Hellman and Oakley key determination with this modification is used in practice. As of today, right? As of today. Okay, right? So this is another assignment, right? I have given you 3 assignments, right? One is that number of keys along with the storage you have to calculate. Other one is writing a program for Diffie-Hellman. Other one is, this is a paper pen example, right? You need to take this example and you need to show how the man in the middle attack is performed on the Diffie-Hellman key exchange protocol. Okay. Right, answers I have given here. These are the answers, you should get it. Okay. Right, so we have almost reached to the end of the lecture, right? I'll touch upon what is asymmetric key encryption, and I will not go into the details of the algorithm because which is going to be covered by another professor in the coming days. So asymmetric key encryption, right? See, in the symmetric key, we have solved only one problem. That is a key exchange problem we have solved with the help of Diffie-Hellman and further by Oakley key determination protocol. Other one which is still remaining the issue is large number of keys required for n number of communicating parties, that is n into n minus 1 by 2. So researchers were looking for, can we solve these both problems, key exchange as well as large number of keys with only one technique. So that led to a concept called asymmetric key cryptography technique. Okay, the crux is in the asymmetric key cryptography, each user will be having 2 keys or key pair, right? Suppose I am Ramakrishna, I am one user, I'll have 2 keys. Dr. Sangram is another user, he will be having 2 keys, right? Similarly, right, Pawan Kumar, who is one of the participant, he is also another user, he'll be having 2 keys. So like that, every user will be having 2 keys. So in that 2 keys, one key is public, other key is private or secret. So as the name itself indicates, public key is displayed to all the people who wants to communicate with me. So that means my public key, I display it publicly, all the people who wants to communicate with me, right? And the private key or secret key is only kept with me, right? So out of 2 keys, one I display to the public, other one I kept it secret with me. So the crux of this is, whatever is encrypted with my public key, that will be decrypted only with my private key, right? Now you understand the purpose, right? Whatever is encrypted with my public key, which I have displayed to the public, that will be encrypted only with my private key. So how it works? So anybody who wants to communicate with me, they encrypt with my public key. Let us say Dr. Sangram wants to say something to me, right? Some communication he wants to make using this asymmetric cryptography. He knows my public key. Whatever plain text he wants to communicate with me, he will encrypt with my public key, which is known to him. And he will send the ciphertext to me. How do I decrypt it? I decrypt it with my private key. That means this public key and private key are generated in such a nice way that whatever you encrypt with one key, it will be decrypted with the other key only. That is a challenge. Right? That is a challenge. Yes. And who should know which key, right? A's private key, that is secret key, should be known only to A, right? Nobody else should know. B should not know, nobody else should know. A's public key, yes, A definitely knows. And B also knows. Anybody who wants to communicate with me, they should also know. Similarly, B's private key, only B should know. B's public key, B knows, and everybody else who wants to communicate with B, they should know. That is the crux of asymmetric key cryptography. So if you want to follow this asymmetric key cryptography, you can understand that every user has 2 keys, one public key, one private key, right? So if there are n number of users, in the internet, how many keys do you require? Total number of keys? Each user is having 2 keys, right? There are n number of users. So how many keys are required to have
2n.
2n, very good, right? 2n, very good. So 2n number of keys. So in the earlier example of symmetric key, for 300 crores of internet users, we required 45,000 in 10 to the power of 14 number of keys. So here in this case, we require only 600 crores. That is 2 into 300 crores, right? 2n. So 600 crores and 45,000 in 10 to the power of 14. So there is a huge variation, right? There is no comparison. 600 crores is too small compared to 45,000 multiplied by 10 to the power of 14, right? So that is the crux of this asymmetric cryptography. to solve one of the challenge of large number of keys required in symmetric key cryptography, right? And here if you see that the scheme works that whoever wants to communicate with me, they know my public key, they encrypt with that and they send it to me. I decrypt with my private. So there is no key exchange here. There is no key exchange. There is no key exchange problem. So there is no key exchange problem in asymmetric cryptography, and the large number of keys required, that is n into n minus 1 by 2, is reduced to 2n, reduced to the order of 2n, so which is very, very small. So asymmetric key cryptography is a breakthrough technique which is proposed in the research literature, and you have many practical algorithms also available under this asymmetric key cryptography. Yeah, this is how they work, right? You have a sender here, plain text, encrypt with the B's public key, right? Receiver is this. So whoever is the receiver, sender has to use the receiver's public key and encrypt this plain text and make it into ciphertext. So ciphertext comes here to the receiver. Receiver has a private key or secret key. So you can understand, I told you, whatever is encrypted with my public key, that will be decrypted only with my private key or secret key. So I get back to the plain text, right? This crux you should understand. Right, this is another problem, right? This is the fourth one. Take a snapshot and you need to solve this also. Fourth problem. Yeah, take a snapshot with your mobile phone. So Sangrama, you are making a note of it, right?
It's okay.
Yeah, this is the fourth question. You asked 5 questions, right? So
Yes,
I have
yes.
already given 4.
Yes.
You asked
What?
multiple choice questions, but I have given pen and paper questions,
Yes, sir.
which is like exam for them. Okay, so I only touch this slide and I leave it here. Only another 5 minutes can I take? Another 5 minutes?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You may continue.
Okay. So one of the most popular asymmetric key algorithm which is used in practice till today is RSA, right? R stands for Ron Rivest, S stands for Shamir, A stands for Adleman, A-D-L-E-M-A-N. So Ron Rivest was a professor at MIT USA. Shamir, S-H-A-M-I-R, Shamir and Adleman are 2 of his research students, right? They work together. Again, you see here, 1 professor and 2 students has developed an algorithm and published it in 1977. When many of you are not born, even if you are born, you are a small child, right? So if you want to lead the whole world, you have to do something which is useful after 20, 30 years from today, right? So that you will become a superpower. The world's most popular asymmetric encryption algorithm published in 1977 by this Ron Rivest, Shamir and Adleman. And it is based on, again, on the theory of prime numbers, right? What is the secret of this algorithm is this only. Based on the fact that it is easy to find and multiply large prime numbers, but extremely difficult to factor their product. This is the challenge. I'll explain this challenge to you, right? You can also try. If you find a solution for this statement, then you also please let me know, and Dr. Sangram also. We will publish a paper, right? And straight away we will be taken to countries like USA and Japan, right? We will not be in India. We will not be in India. So what is this? I'll explain to you, right? I have taken one large prime number. I have taken another large prime number. Let us say one prime number is 100 digits, other prime number is 100 digits. I multiplied both of them, right? First prime number multiplied by the second prime number. So I get a product. Okay, I get a product. So product will be at least 100 digits because my first prime number is 100 digits, second is also 100 digits. So my product will be at least 100 digits, more than that, right? At least 100 digits, more than that. The question of this RSA algorithm is, a challenge is, if I give you the product, you have to tell me what are those 2 prime numbers. What are those 2 prime numbers? But that's all. This is the challenge of RSA algorithm, right? I'll give you a product. You have to tell me what are those 2 prime numbers which has given me this product. It appears to be very simple, right? Suppose I take 2 small prime numbers, 11 and 7. So product is 77. So I give you 77. You have to tell me the prime numbers. Because 77 is a very small product. So by trial and error, you can tell me it is 11 and 7. So what if I give you a 3-digit product, 4-digit product, 10-digit product, 100-digit product, or 1000-digit product? So you need to write a program for this, right? You need to write a program for this. And that program has to tell me what are those 2 prime numbers in real time. so that I can break this RSA algorithm. If I cannot tell what are those two prime numbers in real time, therefore I cannot crack this RSA algorithm. This is the crux of RSA algorithm. So I am not going to go into the details of RSA algorithm, which is going to be covered by another professor in the coming days. So my time is up. So this is what exactly I planned up to here only. There are some more slides, but I am not going to cover it because it is going to be covered by the other sessions. So thank you so much. If you have any questions quickly, I can take it up in the chat room, or you can ask. Thank you so much. Yeah, Professor Emmanuel, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon. Very nice to meet you like this.
Yeah. So thanks to Govil sir and Dr. Sangram.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. How are you, Emmanuel?
Yeah, doing fine, sir. I'm very, very fine.
Yeah.
Namaskar. Thank
Yeah.
you for delivering interactive and knowledgeable sessions. I hope that participants have really enjoyed it. It was really an interactive session. And definitely, as you instructed, they will solve these 5 assignments and they will send it to me. And I compile and I will share with you. Definitely.
Okay. Yeah. You give the certificates only to those people who have completed the assignment.
Yes. So it also
That's what I have done. That's what I have done when I did 3 cyber security programs of AICT Atal.
Yeah.
Those who have not completed, they are not given the certificate.
So participants, please take it seriously because this is a part of your evaluation process also. That's told. So after successful completion only, you will get those certificates. And now, sir, I thank you very much. And I am also looking for this kind of session in near future also. And I also like to invite you physically in our campus again, so that this kind of workshop can be extended in a more interactive way, and also the participants as well as the students of NIT Sikkim can enjoy it and can enhance their knowledge and skills. So thank you, sir, very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sangram. Thank you.
Valuable times with us.
Thank you.
So now I would like to invite Dr. Emmanuel S. Pili, MNIT Jaipur. So on behalf of the Department of Computer Science and Engineering, National Institute of Technology Sikkim, it is my pleasure to invite you, sir. Dr. Emmanuel Subhankar Piliji is an associate professor and head of the department in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering, Malviya National Institute of Technology, Jaipur. He is an eminent academician and has more than 21 years of teaching, research, and administrative experience. He was awarded PhD from Indian Institute of Technology, Roorkee. Dr. Piliji has completed a research project investigating the source of spoof emails from UCOST, Dehradun in 2016. He has co-authored a book, Fundamentals of Network Forensic, a Research Perspective, for Springer in 2016. He is supervising almost 15 MTech and more than 15 PhD students in the area of security and forensic, cloud computing, big data, and Internet of Things. Dr. Pili is a senior member of both IEEE and ACM. He is a member of Cloud Computing Innovation Council of India and Forensic Science Works Group on Cloud Computing of the NIST USA. He has published more than 100 research papers in national, international journals and conferences of repute published by Elsewhere, IEEE, Springer, ACM, InterScience Weekly, and so on. His research articles achieved more than 1,300 citations by the eminent scientists and researchers. Thank you, sir, for being here. I invite you to deliver the expert lecture on the topics cloud security.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Sangram, and thanks to Professor Govil also, who is the director of the institution and has many times invited, and it's a privilege that I'm able to do it today. So let me just share my slides. So it's a rare privilege to share with you some thoughts on cloud security, which is currently my research area also. One of the student has been awarded PhD in this domain, working in NIT Jaipur. And her papers have received good citations also. Both of the papers that she worked on, 100 citations already. Both the papers, you can look into my Google Scholar and then you can look at the kind of publications. So as we see cloud adoption, and that too in India, and surprisingly, I would like to share with you one of the research material that people have done, that is what is Cloud Security Alliance. Cloud Security Alliance has done a survey on cloud adoption and security in India. Just imagine, maybe some of you can guess why an organization which is not Indian, this Cloud Security Alliance is a US-based organization, maybe informally sponsored by the government agencies like NIST and others to do research, and they have specifically focused on India, and they have prepared a survey report. You can just type this on Google. It's an open source report, so you can get that cloud adoption and security in India. Some slides have taken from that, some viewpoints to say that a lot of people in India are already started to be active users of cloud. And as we move forward, we see that people have spent a lot of years in the cloud also, and all more than there are so many people who have spent more than 3 years and 2 years and all, and very few are less than 1 year, in the sense that there is a lot of cloud experience in India. And the number of applications, almost 25% of the companies have more than 10 applications in the cloud. And any institution, any university is also having a lot of applications on the cloud. Academic applications also, we see a lot of them are on the cloud. The Google Meet and, the Google Mail and Google Drive, they are all good applications of cloud. So that is what you can see. If your institution is using Google Drive, Google Cloud, it's basically you have some applications on the cloud. Normally we have 3 types of cloud. I am not sure how much of cloud you are aware of, but let me give you a brief introduction a little later. But there are 3 types of cloud. One is called the public cloud, which we talk about mostly like Google Cloud and or AWS or Azure. So these are some of the things like IBM's Bluemix. So they are public clouds. There are private clouds which are set up by software open source like OpenStack and CloudStack. And also maybe some private softwares which you can look at like Eucalyptus and some of them, they are VMware, they are proprietary, or HP Helion. These are all softwares which set up the private cloud. There's a combined option between public and private cloud, which is hybrid cloud. So what are the reasons for not adopting cloud? Of course, this is not the only reasons. So they felt, they surveyed the company and felt what are the main reasons. So you look at security is not on the top reasons why this is not only I think risk of data loss and risk of security breach is only coming almost at the 4th and 5th position, and none of the others are actually security related. So cloud security is not the reason why people are not adopting. There are other reasons why people are not adopting. And if you look at the market dominance in India, AWS dominates it. Then you have Azure, then you have the Google Cloud. And of course, fortunately, we have some Indian companies. NetMagic is an Indian company. And Control S or CTRLS, this is Control plus S, is another company. And then Tata Communications is an Indian company. And the cloud is called InstaCompute. So NetMagic, Control S or InstaCompute, these are the Indian companies. But of course, their market share is very less. And of course, at least we are proud because in other sense, we look at cloud companies or cloud softwares. These are all cloud software which have a huge presence in India, but they are not made in India. And here, as you look at the attack and data loss concerns also, these are all security issues which are there, and primarily data breach, data loss, insider threat, malware injection. We will look at some of these attacks, okay, as you look at. So these are the major 2 attacks that we look at: data breach and data loss, right? Now, before we enter cloud security, if somebody wants to actually work with cloud, what can I do? If that is a question, maybe you can take some good high-end systems, maybe i7 workstations or i7 desktop computers, personal computers, PCs with i7 processor. Maybe if you have 16 GB RAM or 32 GB RAM, it will be good. And then you can set up these hypervisors. The first level, the lower level of the cloud software is said to be built on these. So you can set up on KVM or VMware. VMware is proprietary. KVM and Zen or Zen server are open source, and you can set them up. And then you have the cloud software which sits on top of them, that is OpenNebula or OpenStack or CloudStack, or earlier it was Eucalyptus. Now it is HP Helion has taken over. So Helion Eucalyptus is taken over by HP company. So they have the Helion there. So OpenStack is still an open source company and is quite popular. So the most popular among all of these is now OpenStack, right? So we look at that, and there are a lot of providers like this. So where you see hardware, the virtualization software, we have discussed some virtualization software, Zen and KVM and VMware. And then you have the cloud platform, which is sitting on top of that, the OpenStack and Elasticstack, and there are other examples also. On top of that, you have the infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service, then cloud management software, then cloud broker, then cloud marketplace. Cloud marketplace is something like your what you call Flipkart kind of a thing, or a gem kind of thing, which people call it the government e-marketplace. You can directly go and procure a cloud here. So that is what is. And then this is a cloud broker. They will actually broker some services for you. And cloud management, they will set up cloud and run it for you, right? So these are, you can directly set up from yourself. You can do it. If you have these resources and you don't know how to do it, then you approach a cloud management software. He will set it up for you and run it, right? And then if you're not able to do that, then you can, and you don't know which to choose from among these, which to choose. So you go to a broker, and broker does a good analysis for you and tells you, for this is the best thing, and then he does it for you. And then otherwise you can go to the cloud marketplace and buy the entire cloud for yourself. You can set up a cloud of your own. And for them also, there also you have these things which are sold. So these are cloud marketplace, these are cloud brokers, these are what is called cloud management software, right? There's a cloud marketplace, there's a cloud management. This is infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, infrastructure as a service, this is software as a service. And then you have the hypervisor, no, not the hypervisor, the cloud management software, which is set up here. And then this is the hypervisor software, and this is the hardware, basically talking about the hardware, right? So that is the cloud platform, and this is the hypervisor platform. So based on the hardware, this hardware is anywhere there. So you have the personal computers also you can use here. Of course, to set up a small cloud, it will not be really functional in the sense, but you can set up, and then you can use some of these. But of course, VirtualBox is very preliminary. So what you use is Zen or Zen server, or of course Zen and Zen server are from Citrix. Then you have KVM or the vSphere from VMware. Then you have a variety of softwares that VMware vCloud is there. It sits on vSphere, right? And then you have OpenStack, Elasticstack, CloudStack, and also Eucalyptus. Then these are the infrastructure as a service. This is platform as a service. This is software as a service. These are some of the examples, right? So, and then there are so many providers, as you can look at Microsoft Cloud, that cloud.google.com. You can go to Azure, or you can go to AWS or Bluemix in IBM. Salesforce and Rackspace are software as a service, right? And cloud service providers in India, as I've already shared, NetMagic Solutions. The NetMagic is NTT Communications company, but it already executes. A lot of these are running their servers on a NetMagic cloud, right? Flipkart, Hindu newspaper, the Dish TV, and all they are working on NetMagic. And Control is another company. InstaCompute is another company for cloud provider in India. Now, when you look at cloud, what is cloud? If you look at, there's a physical infrastructure which is at the lowest level. You combine all this physical infrastructure, okay? And the strength of cloud is basically virtualization, right? What is virtualization? If you have worked with VirtualBox, right? So you will know what is virtualization. VirtualBox is where you have what you call, you have a layer of the software. Maybe you would have set up VirtualBox or VMware software, or any of the hypervisor, maybe KVM if you have set up. If you want to run multiple operating system on a single physical machine, right? So then you do that, right? In fact, you can set up your on a laptop, you can set up or a desktop, you can set up multiple operating systems running at the same time. How do you do that? You virtualize the hardware which is running below. So not only on a single system you can virtualize and run multiple operating system, you can virtualize big servers in a data center, and then you can run multiple, some thousands of virtual machines on few servers. Earlier, if you had 1,000 applications, you need 1,000 servers. So 1,000 physical servers were getting used. But people thought all the servers are not used all the time and the load is not that much. So why can't I run multiple applications on single physical server? So then the concept came up. So then they started creating virtual machines. So each virtual machine will run one application. So or each virtual machine can run multiple applications, and that way you can run multiple applications on a single physical server. So one application for one server, they virtualized it. So that's where you have more options. Then you have the application software and platform software, and on top of that, when you create a cloud management software, the whole thing becomes a cloud, right? So when you look at this, is our data center will look like. And most of you would not have seen this whole mechanism of data center. We have a small data center in NIT Jaipur, maybe 4 columns of this. That much is the size of our data center. We have a lot of cables running and all the servers being placed, which are stacks. Looks like a hard disk, a rack kind of structure. Server also looks like a rack. The storage also looks like a rack. Rack servers, right? So that is how it looks like. It's not a cabinet which is put in on a diagram like that, but it is actually a rack server. And all these rack servers are connected by cables. So you have cables running here, as you see here and here. You can see the size of the human being here and the size of these things. So that's huge. I've been to a center in Bangalore, and where we could see in IBM, we could see the IBM cloud environment, and we went down and we saw all that. So we could have a good exposure. So this is not how the servers will look like now. They are rack servers. These are like cabinets, but anyway, the compute, storage, and network is what are the core elements of the data center. There you have application, DBMS, and this application. This is what is a classic data center. Now, when this classic data center is virtualized, it becomes a virtualized data center. Now, how do you virtualize it? So you have the computes, that is the servers. The servers are converted, virtualized, and you get multiple cores here. There is one server which has a processor, and one processor has multiple sockets, and each socket has many cores. So you have one big server, and that server has, let us say, 10 sockets, and each of them has 12 cores. So you have totally 120 cores on one server. So those cores can be virtualized so that they become one core CPUs, virtual one core CPUs. Actually, there are 12 cores in each processor, and each processor is embedded into a socket. So there are 10 processor chips which are embedded into a socket, and that becomes a server. So each server has 10 sockets, and each socket has 12 cores. So that becomes 120 cores. Each server has 120 cores. Like that, we have 16 cores in NIT Jaipur. So there are about some 1920 cores are there. From these 1920 cores, how many virtual machines can be created? Maybe can you guess? Any one of you can guess? How many virtual machines can be created when you have 1920 cores? Any idea?
It depends on the configuration of the VM, no?
Yeah. So what are the minimum number that can be created?
Minimum number of available cores.
Yeah, so 1920 cores are there. Can I create 4,000 virtual machines?
Possible, no?
Yeah, so that is the beauty that you understand. The whole point of cloud, you have understood correctly, because you said possibly, right? It is possible. Why is it possible? When you have only 1920 cores, and let us say if for every virtual machine we give only one core, 1920 cores will be available. So 1920 virtual machines should be available. But how can I create 4,000 virtual machines? I can create
we can
4,000
have
virtual machines because
we can have the virtualization, no?
we can
Have the virtualization there itself.
Yeah, we virtualize, but how is virtualization playing a role there? When you have only 1920 cores, how can I create 4,000 virtual machines of 1 core each? Or let us say 4,000 virtual machines of 2 core each.
Okay.
Can I create?
It's possible. It's possible.
It's possible. Exactly, it's possible. Why? Because at any given instance of time, all the virtual machines are not in execution.
Yes.
Right? So that
Yep.
is the beauty of cloud. That is where cloud creates a huge resource, right?
Yes.
It is not that cloud has infinite resource. Cloud never has infinite resource. Like that in our college, as I put it, 1920 cores are there, but some 8 core virtual machines are created, some 16 core virtual machines are created, some 12 core virtual machines are created, mostly 4 core virtual machines are created. But around 2000 virtual machines are already created. Huge. If you count all the numbers put together, they will cross even 10,000 cores, right?
Yes.
But the beauty is all the students will not be working on the virtual machine at the same time. And hence, what has happened? The same resources are cycled among the existing concurrently operating virtual machines. So a given instance of time in NIT Jaipur also, 1920 cores can be in execution. So once the 1920 cores are occupied, then there is no possibility. Right? There is no such things can like that. I can create 8 core virtual machines and I can run 1,000 of them. No, 1,000 into 8 will be 8,000 cores are required, but I have hardly 2,000 cores. So I cannot run 1,000 virtual machines of 8 core each. I will be able to run only 250 or maybe 200 virtual machines of 8 core each. So that's the calculation. At a given instance of time, I will not all run at the same time. Hence, I can create more virtual machines. So hence, it makes cloud very powerful. And all over the world, if you start using, right, if you look at time zones, people work, half of the world works in the night, half of the world works in the daytime. If you take your own time zone, Indian time zone, right? When we are all sleeping, US people are all working. When US people are all sleeping, we are all working. So just imagine 2 worlds we can easily manage. When they are sleeping, we are working. When we are working, they are sleeping. So our load and their load gets balanced. And hence, when I am not using, I can give my resources to somebody else. So that's the kind of concept which has been built up. So as you see, the classic data center is virtualized to create a virtualized data center. The compute is virtualized, the storage is virtualized, the network is virtualized. Finally, you get a virtualized data center. On top of that, you put cloud services, it becomes the cloud. So that is what is the journey to cloud. And if you look at earlier, the virtualization layer, before the virtualization layer was there, one single machine would run one operating system. But now when virtualization layer has come, one physical machine would run multiple operating systems. So that is what is the strength of virtualization. So earlier, only one operating system and many applications could run. Now, multiple operating systems and multiple applications and multiple virtual machines can run on a single physical server. So that is something which we can tend to look at. And the hypervisor is the one which manages the whole thing. It's the software that allows multiple operating systems to run so that the hardware, the users interact with the hardware through the hypervisor. So that is the basic idea. And there are 2 types of hypervisor. It is called bare metal or it is called hosted. Bare metal in the sense there is no host operating system, only guest operating systems are there. But in the case of a hosted hypervisor, on the operating system, the hypervisor is hosted. So basically, operating system is interacting with the hardware. On the operating system, the hypervisor is sitting. On the hypervisor, the operating systems are sitting. So when these operating systems want to talk to the hardware, they have to talk to the hypervisor. Hypervisor talk to the operating system. Operating system will talk to the hardware. In this case, the virtual machines directly talk with the hardware through the hypervisor. So what is the operating system? Here, the hypervisor itself has an operating system. In fact, the bare metal hypervisor is an operating system. So these are 2 mechanisms. You can have a host, that is a host operating system. On top of that, you can have a hypervisor. On top of that, you can have any number of virtual machines, and the operating system can also have some application. Here, the hypervisor is directly an operating system which is sitting on the bare metal, and on top of that, it also acts like a hypervisor. It also acts like the operating system. Both are combined together to give you the bare metal hypervisor. So this is where I would suggest one of my students' paper, right? If you want to read more on cloud computing attacks and security issues, please read this review paper. It's about 30 pages. And a lot of content. 30 pages in Elsevier is a real good content, and you can look at that. Some of the things I will present to you. So this is one proposed model which we built on the OpenStack environment. Let me show you a slightly in a bigger screen. All right. So as you see here, we have taken 4 nodes per se. Of course, in OpenStack, you can have even 100 nodes. and two of those nodes are reserved. One is a controller server and one is a networking server. And the remaining servers are where the virtual machines are running on the physical servers. So each physical server is called a compute server. So if I have a 100 node machine, 2 will be used for this. So the 98 remaining will be used for the compute server. Let us say I have only 8 physical servers. So then 2 of them will be used for controller server, networking server, and the remaining 6 can be used as a compute server. So depending on that, anyway, you need to assign 2 nodes which will do some specific jobs. That is, one is controller, the other is network. So as you see, the controller server, the networking server, and the compute servers are all on a network called management network. Then the networking server, the compute servers are on another network called the tenant network. And the outside network is also connect from the internet, from an external network. It is also connected to the network node. So users can come here and then connect to it and then get the resources from the cloud server and then go and create their own virtual machines, right? So this is how these virtual machines are created, and you see some specific dotted virtual machine here. It is also having virtual machine number, but it is also called DOM0. DOM0 is a default virtual machine which is created. Whenever the first virtual machines are created, it's like a default constructor. Before any constructor is created, a default constructor is created. So DOM0 is a default virtual machine. And mind you, please try to understand that this is specific to what is called the Zen hypervisor. The Zen hypervisor has a DOM0. But if you look at a KVM hypervisor, it doesn't have a DOM0, but it has a kernel, right? The kernel has the functionality of DOM0. So if you want to do anything on KVM, which is usually most of the people have not done, a lot of people who have worked on cloud security have worked on what is called, they worked only on Zen, but on KVM, very less work is done. So if you are looking at cloud security and you are starting now, then it is the right time to think about cloud security in the sense that you can try to look at that, right? Try to understand KVM and try to open up the open source kernel and then try to see whatever people have done on a Zen hypervisor, you can try to do that on a KVM hypervisor. So you have these tenants which are created. They are called the virtual machines. VM12, VM13, and then VM22, VM23, like that. And the DOM0 will always have the default virtual machine. So here I called it VM21, here I called it VM11. And these are the hypervisors. The virtual machine monitor is called the hypervisor. The other word is hypervisor, and then you have the hardware. And these are the 3 networks. So whenever you want to set up an architecture like this, is it easy in a private engineering college or in a government engineering college like yours? What do you need to do? So maybe it needs a little bit of investment, right? 16 GB RAM, you may have 8 GB RAMs on your system, so you have to add one more 8 GB RAM. So maybe 3,000, 4,000 rupees, right? And then you want to create these multiple networks. Yes, you can take the help of your network engineers there in the college. If you talk to them, they will help you. But what you need is this networking hardware which runs, and then I want to connect them. So when I want to connect the networking hardware, right? So then I have these networks which are set up. So you have the what is called the multiple ports are required. Each of them is an Ethernet port. Here there is only one connection on the Ethernet port, no problem. But most of the systems have 2 Ethernet ports, 2 networks connecting to them. And here networking server has 3 Ethernet ports. So when I did this experiment and we set up, in fact, we understood this whole architecture easily because we tried to install it and we tried to set it up. And most of the time when we do research in India, we try to do more of a theoretical or more of a conceptual. We have wonderful ideas, but we never implement them. We never try it out. So it takes time. This whole thing, setting up this whole thing may have taken us 4 months of 1 or 2 research scholars' time. And I think that is worth investment. And that is what I would like to encourage you to do that. So you can have these kind of mechanism which can be set up, and then you have the network set up here. So what are the numbers here? Maybe you are seeing some numbers 6, 11, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5, 6. All of these numbers, these are different attack numbers. So let's quickly look at that, right? So what are those lines? So these are the line numbers which are there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there can be a VM to a co-located VM attack. So if you look at VM to co-located VM, VM to co-located VM, you can attack one VM to another VM. So there can be multiple types of attacks. So or a cross VM side channel attack, cross VM side channel not the main channel. It's a side channel. What do you mean by side channel? Between two systems, the communication is through packets. So if you are trying to find out if somebody is attacking another system, you actually do the analysis of the packets. And if you want to attack also, you try to send some malicious packets. But here, the cross VM side channel attack, side channel is not using the main channel. What is using it is using a side channel. It is looking at how much power is consumed. It is trying to read the magnetic radiations which are generated out of the memory being accessed. It is able to listen to the sounds. It is able to listen to the voltage fluctuations. It is able to listen to how much current is being drawn. Different programs will attract different power requirements, right? If you are running a cryptographic algorithm and there is a loop which is running like an S block or something in DES or AES, it requires more computation power. So, and hence, as you see that, you can get those details. So that's a first level kind of an attack. Then from the VM to VMM to the host OS, you can have an attack that is called the VM escape attack. So this is 1 to 2. So you can have a VM escape attack. VM to VM, you can have scanning and DDoS attacks. So third kind of attack is scanning and DDoS attacks. Then VM to VMM, a guest DOS attack. So that is VM to VMM, VM to VMM. You are compromising the hypervisor. So that is another attack like guest DOS attack. VM to VM attack running on different servers, so man in the middle attack. So 5 is VM to VM attack across physical machines. So you are going out of the physical machine and trying to running on different servers. You are running a VM to VM attack, right? Malicious cloud administrator attack, insider attack, which we call the cloud administrator itself is attacking a VM, right? And then you have VMM to VM attack. That is once the hypervisor is compromised, you try to compromise the other VMs. So information leakage due to non-isolation of VMs and you can attack them. Then hardware can also attack VM. So you have low-level attacks such as DOS. So 10 and 9. So these are low-level attacks. Okay, they can come from. And lastly, you have the 11th attack, which is basically the outside VM attack like information stealing or denial of service attack and some of these attacks which can happen. So these are various attacks at various layers that can happen. Here attacks on virtual machine monitor or the hypervisor, attacks in the hardware, attacks on virtual storage and attacks on tenant virtual machine. This is how, if you look at it in a bigger screen, this is how it looks like. So you have the virtual machine based attack. So you have the cross VM side channel attack, guest DOS attack, variety of attacks that are there. Maybe you can refer to the paper also. You have these pictures are taken from the same journal paper that I mentioned. I will share the slides with you. You can also read through them. Dr. Sangram will share the slides with you. Once I finish the talk, I will send you the slides and you can look at that. And then you have the virtual machine monitor. So you have a variety of virtual machine monitors here. Then hardware level attacks which are there. And virtual storage and virtual tenant also here you have. So some of these attacks we will see in the next slides. So here you see the hardware layer attack and storage layer and network layer. Maybe if you look at this, anybody can guess, is there any mistake here? Not a very technical mistake in the sense, but it is also a kind of an anomaly, I would say, not a mistake, but an anomaly. Can you look at this diagram and then understand? No?
Can you be very specific to what is the kind of mistake here?
Specific to?
What kind of mistake that you are?
Yeah. No. Is any anomaly appearing here? Hardware, storage, network, 3 layers. In the diagram. Okay, let me tell you. It would have been good if it was more interactive. But anyway, hardware when I mentioned, right? We thought about DMA and BIOS and memory and other things. But later we realized storage is also hardware. Network is also hardware, right? But of course, we should have put this side by side, right? Cloud network, cloud hardware and cloud storage and cloud network, because this is not one on top of the other, right? So, but anyway, it's a representation, right? It's a representation to mention the 5 types of attacks. So that is how we showed. Instead of putting these 3 lines, one on top of the other, network, storage, and hardware, we should have put it hardware, storage, and network. So they are all together. And in that whole thing is like how this whole thing is a virtualization layer. this whole thing is a hardware layer, right? So maybe something like that, right? So let us look at each of these attacks in detail. So attacks on virtual network, these are the attacks on virtual network, man in the middle attack, traffic sniffing, spoofing, port scanning. Most of the attacks look like they are denial of service, they are network security attacks, right? Even if you look at that. So in fact, when we started working, so I raised an important question to my student. Are you working on cloud security or are you working on network security? Now, if you look at it, what is the difference between a cloud security and a network security? Technically speaking, what is the difference between network security and cloud security? You have seen what is a cloud. You have seen the physical architecture of cloud. Now, is cloud a network? Then the security of cloud is network security. Can I say like that? Because cloud is also having servers, there's also connectivity. I've seen the data center. Data center is servers and storage, and you know what is the cables, that is network that is connecting them. So in a sense, it is also a network. So if I talk about security, am I talking about network security? No. If I want to call about cloud security, then is it something different that I have to look at? Okay, let us move ahead. Maybe if you get that solution, we can look at, right? So these are some of the attacks. So let us say what are these?
It's different.
Right? So, yeah, go ahead.
Different, sir.
You want to find out the difference? It is different.
Both are different, sir. Yeah.
How? What is the differentiating factor?
Sir, if this cloud will be total virtual, whereas network is it is distributed.
Yeah, cloud is also distributed, but the point you made is correct, right? The point you made is correct, because here also it is distributed. You are not putting all the resources on a single server. You are spreading it across 100 servers or 20 servers or 30 servers, right? There are definitely multiple servers on which the cloud runs. But the beauty of it is one step ahead than network security is the virtualization layer. So when I started thinking about cloud security, I made sure that we don't do network security on the cloud, or we don't do security of the cloud network. What we do, we cross the virtualization layer. If I don't cross the virtualization layer, it is not cloud security. That is how I define. So I said there are so many attacks which can be detected at the network server of cloud. That would be network security. What you need to do is you need to cross the virtualization layer in the cloud. Then only we can call it the cloud security. So that's where we had a man in the middle attack and some of these. So let's look at some of those attacks, right? So that's a good thought. The virtualization differentiates cloud security and network security. If virtualization was not there, what we are doing is network security. Because virtualization is there, what we are doing is cloud security, right? So if you look at it, man in the middle attack, so the adversary may sit between two virtual machines and may try to snip the packets passing between them when VM is migrated or when VMs communicate with one another. So the attacker can modify the data in communication by generating its private key and sending to the cloud service provider on behalf of the legitimate user. So somebody sitting in between can read the data that is going on, communicating between two virtual machines, and he can get those packets, and then he can try to understand, and then he can modify the communication and then sending to the CSP on behalf of the legitimate users. Traffic spoofing, all the VMs on the same network segment are open to attacks and compromise from other VMs present on the same network. So any virtual machine, because it is given a number by the virtual network, on the same virtual network, any virtual machine can act like anything else. So it is possible in the network security, is possible for IP spoofing. The same thing for a VM, you can change the IP, and then it's easy for that. So a malicious user on one VM can perform IP spoofing on which attack traffic is generated on behalf of the legitimate tenant user and sent to the destination VM. So this is possible. VM port scanning, just like spoofing is possible, scanning is also possible. So it does not cause any harm on the virtual machine, but gives the insider some specific information about the status of the ports and how it can be used, whether it is virtualized or not, and other things can be easily found out. Then denial of service attacks, you can have attackers can Flood with spoofed packets, the broadcast address, the sender's address is target VM's IP address, providing a service on the cloud. On receiving the packet, each node responds to the server hosting the VM with particular spoofed IP, consuming all the resources so that it no longer provides its intended service. So we try to bombard one particular single system, and then you make the system unavailable, or denial of services attack is launched on that. You can also do traffic sniffing. Traffic sniffing is slightly different from VM spoofing, port scanning, and traffic sniffing. So you try to understand what is the traffic that is packets that are being moving between two different virtual switches and the virtual networks, and then you can get that, right? So that is what is sniffing. Attacks are on virtual machines. Now, first one was on virtual networks. The second one was on virtual machines. The cross-channel, cross VM side channel attack, or the guest denial of service attack, or VM escape, information leakage, sprawling, a variety of this thing. So cross VM side channel attack, time, cache, heat, and power used to extract confidential information. So that is the thing that I've already discussed. The guest denial of service, the virtual machine can consume all the resources, causing a denial of service attack. A VM escape, very surprising, an attack in which the attacker gains access to the memory that is beyond the access of the compromised tenant VM. So you break out of the VM and interacts with the hypervisor or the host operating system. So when you are able to do that, you are able to get access to hypervisor. So you escape from the VM and attack the hypervisor. So that is what is called a VM escape attack. Then there are information leakage. So a lot of VMI functions. You can have virtual machine introspection, that I call it, or virtual machine information leakage functions. And you can have system call information or breakpoint injection. All these are possible. And you can collect the information about a particular VM. Similarly, a malware infection, an attacker can inject malware in a virtual machine to gain root access. So malware infection is a kind of common network security attack, so which is also possible on the virtual machines. An attack on web applications, a lot of these web applications are possible on an ordinary network also. It is also possible on virtual machines. The third level of attacks that we talk about is on the hypervisor, or this is the very important aspect. So VMM DOS, VMM malware injection, hyperjacking, and backtrack. And of course, the remaining are all similar. The denial of service attacks, malware injection attacks, we've already discussed. Their backdoors also can be placed. These are all kind of network attacks, right? So they are similar. So you would have, if you have studied some of the network attacks, you would have come across this DOS, malware injection, and backdoor. But one surprising attack that you see is called hyperjacking. What is hyperjacking? You know what is hijacking, but here it is hyperjacking. Hijacking attacks, hijacking of sequence numbers. There is a hijacking attack, but here it is a hyperjacking. What you are doing? You are hijacking the hypervisor, right? So what you do is you install a rogue hypervisor that can keep control of the complete server. A hypervisor is running on the server, but software has got installed on that hypervisor, and it acts as now hypervisor. So what happens, a rogue hypervisor is installed, and now it takes control of that server and it becomes the hypervisor. So the hypervisor level rootkits exploit hardware and virtualization features. Similarly, you have the VMM backdoor. So there can be a lot of these Trojan horses or some of these malicious backdoor attacks which can have. So you can compromise on the hypervisor's privileged domains, and then you can manipulate the kernel data structures. We have seen virtual network, we have seen virtual machines, we have seen hypervisor. Now we are going to see storage, data leakage, data remnants, dumpster diving, and hash value manipulation. Data leakage, so some of the data which is lying, like password guessing, dumpster diving, you can get some VM data leakage. So you can also use keyloggers, and then you can gain access to target VM and breach its data. Then there are data remnants. Data remnants is something like this that we have on the hard disk. And maybe if your hard disk gets corrupted, what you can try to do is, or maybe by mistake you delete the file. The file is still lying there on the operating system. It is not completely deleted. So what you can try to do, you can take it to a recovery, software fellow, and then he can look at it, look into the system, and then get back your data. How is it when the data is deleted? How is the data retrieved again? Because the data, it is there, it is still static. The ones and zeros are stored there. So unless and until some more ones and zeros come and overwrite the data is still available. So what you can try to do is you can just retrieve the data from the hard disk, and you can do that. So similarly, on a cloud data, sometimes you have the residual data which is remained after the deletion. You delete the file, the data is still there. Unless and until you format it, unless and until you overwrite it with somebody else, some other file, your data is still there. So what you try to do is you try to get access to those data. So various file handling operations such as reformatting of storage, deletion operations may result in data remnants. Such operations can cause disclosure of sensitive information. So similarly, dumpster diving, you can get to the recycle bins or any other data sets where you can get the dumpster data which has been put in. Similarly, hash value manipulation. An attacker can manipulate the hash value of the message and can get authorized access. But when you're replying, you have what is called a sequence number. So if somebody can actually get hold of the sequence number, you can easily get in and try to do that, right? So those are the things. The last aspect is the hardware level. So you have the DMA access or the system management module or the BIOS attack. In the DMA code can be subjected to malware infections by stealthy attacks which are launched. And then you can have the attacker to access cryptographic keys for the hardware and user sensitive information located in the cache. So that's where the DMA kind of attacks can happen. SMM is a highly privileged mode of the CPU which deals with the security system and power management functions. But on insertion of an SMM pin, the CPU saves its entire stage to a separate address location called SMRAM. So SMMs are vulnerable to cache poisoning attack, which allows an attack to insert malicious code temporarily in SMRAM, right? SMRAM. Similarly, basic input output system BIOS. So BIOS is responsible for implementation of SMM, that is a system management mode. Any vulnerability in BIOS can be used to tamper the SMM functioning and allows an attacker to take illegitimate access to security functions. So, and how do I actually investigate what's actually happening in a virtual machine? So this is where we come across an important tool called virtual machine introspection, VMI. VMI is a tool, and the library of the VMI is called the libVMI. Like you have the SVM library in libSVM. So VMI library you have in what is called libVMI. So the virtual machine introspection is a software. It's developed by a PhD student and made it available to others. And many have used it, and extensively people have found out how to solve various cloud security attacks and shown a better result. So that is what we also tend to use here. And this is one of the key aspects. The libVMI library is a very key aspect, and it works very fine with both Zen and KVM hypervisors, and you can get the information, right? So the VMI inspects the VM memory and disk from the outside without intrusively injecting the agent. So you can do an out VM inspection, and the benefit is to protect the virtual monitoring tool from being compromised in the event of a successful security attack. So the VM monitoring tool is placed outside the target VM but in a trusted VM. So outside the tenant VM but in a trusted VM is DOM0. So DOM0 will have this VMI classes, VMI APIs, and the VMI approach. And the guest OS symbol table keeps track of all the symbol tables which are there. So you have a tenant virtual machine here, and it is working on the kernel space. They interact, and then we can find out some of the information about this virtual machine. Like, so this is a security VM, we call it the DOM0. On the DOM0 virtual machine, we launch the virtual machine introspection and observe DOM0, DOM-U1, DOM-U2, and so on. So there may be multiple DOMs which are created, right? Or DOM-U in the sense it's in the hypervisor. DOM0 means it's only a default hypervisor, right? So the guest VM's internal behavior is then inferred by using the VM state information obtained at the hardware level. The VM state information is obtained via the hypervisor using the APIs specific to particular virtualization platforms such as the Zen control library for the Zen hypervisor. So VMI gives you internal VM state information at the hardware level. The VMI is comprised of three components, as we see here. These three components, right? VMI approach, VMI API, and the guest OS symbol table, which is mentioned here. The guest OS symbol table, the VMI approach, and the VMI API, and that is what is the VMI approach, the VM application that we look at. So the VM application is responsible for the external monitoring of the guest VM, right? So the application is typically run on a trusted virtual machine, that is DOM0. It may have the access privileges necessary to access the underlying hypervisor using hypervisor specific APIs. The VMI architecture, the user space VMI application uses the function provided by the VMI API to introspect the various operations of the guest VM. So once you install the library of VMI, libVMI software, then you get a lot of functions. So that these functions are basically provided by the VMI API to introspect the various operations. So you have various operations can run on the VM and get the information. So how the VM is running, what is it's executing, and how it is requesting what and what is getting done through the VM is easily obtained by the VMI application. While the application is primarily used to monitor memory events, its functionality can be extended to monitor other aspects of the guest. Initially, somebody wanted to observe what the virtual machine is doing. Later, you can extend it to include some more features for to accept and reject certain things. So that is something which we can do it, right? So the VMI is installed into the monitoring VM and runs as a library model. So you just have to install libVMI and then everything is taken care of, right? So it provides an interface between the VMI application and the underlying hypervisor. And lastly, the user space VMI application obtains different aspects of a VM state by using the VMI API, which in turn uses API specific to the virtualization platform on which it returns. So you tend to install the VMI API on the monitoring module, that is a DOM0, and you run it as a library module, and there's an interface between the VMI application and the underlying hypervisor, and then you can get the working going. So while VMI uses hypervisor specific APIs to obtain information about the guest VM state, it is impossible to interpret the acquired data without knowledge of the guest OS, since only it has access to the hardware level VM state information. So this is commonly referred as a semantic gap, which is the knowledge gap between the internal working of the guest VM and the low level information created externally. So the VM implementation table uses the guest OS kernel symbol table, the system.map in Linux, and ntdll.dll in Windows OS to make sure of the low level state information, and initialized during the kernel compilation process. The symbol table contains virtual addresses of important kernel data structures such as the system call table as system call symbol table, as well as the interrupt descriptor table. So when the kernel compilation process, the symbol table so by and large, what kind of information do you get from a virtual machine introspection? All the system calls that are running, they are available, right? So that is something which is a huge information. So if you want to find out whether there is something malicious happening on a virtual machine, you can look at a sequence of system calls and find out whether that is indicating of a malicious intent or not. If such thing is not there, then we allow the traffic. If malicious things are found out, then we stop the system, right? So that is what we can launch a countermeasure, right? The kernel symbol table helps narrow the semantic gap by enabling the VMI API to translate the hardware information to virtual addresses of important guest kernel structures. So the guest kernel structures give you information about which symbol table is referred to and what kind of content is there in that, so that can be obtained. So this is the basic introduction to that, and let me quickly summarize what we did as part of our solution to this. We created what is called a Cloud Hedge. Cloud Hedge had three functionalities. We designed a malicious system call sequence detection algorithm at the tenant virtual machine. It's called the TVM, which runs on the clustering software, that is the cloud computing servers, right? So the cloud computing server is running here. Similarly, the hypervisor or the DOM0 of the cloud computing server, that is what Cloud Hedge is running. And there are two functionalities. One is called, or two ways of doing it. One is called VM Guard and the other one is Wait. Both are kind of good high profile SCI papers, VM Guard and Wait. They both are accepted. And lastly, you have the malicious insider packet attack, which is a network packet attack, and the networking part is handled here. So the VM part, the hypervisor part, and the network part. So these are the hypervisor layer. This is the tenant virtual machine layer. This is the hypervisor plus OS layer. So this is how the architecture looks like. Maybe let me show you a little bit bigger and says, okay, it didn't happen. So here you have these three layers talking about MC, MSCSD, which is running on every virtual machine. The VMDS is running at the hypervisor layer, and the MNPD, that is what you call MNPD, is the malicious network packet detector, right? MNPD works on the network node and also on the virtual network on the hypervisor. So these are some things which are actually going to affect us, right? So this is how an MSCSD looks like. Here we have the classifier. We try to do the classification mechanism here. We try to collect the data. There's a parsing environment which was to be done. So you do it at the virtual machine layer, then you do it at the hypervisor layer or the virtualization layer, and lastly you can do it also at the network layer, which is kind of hardware in the sense, but there are virtual networks also inside. So this is how it is. So you build a preprocessor, then you build a classifier, and then next onwards, whenever new traffic comes in, you can say how it is accepted. This is how it looks like in a bigger sense. So this is the actual model. So there are the cloud admin, and then when you parse it, you get a cloud security system called data. The system called data is sent to a system called preprocessing, which is sent to injection, and the detection engine or the VMI which is running here, and then so what you can try to do is you can get the classifier to find out the features. Before that you do pre-processing, and after that you classify it, and then any new data that is coming, it can immediately be classified and an alert can be generated. So you are trying to build a detection mechanism. So this is the malicious system call sequence detection. So you have the system calls which are traced, the live system calls. Then you look at the system called pre-processing, which is done. And then because if you get a data set, fortunately we got a data set, and then we apply decision tree algorithm, and then we get the decision making model, and we got the results, right? Using these, we are updating the database here. Some new profiles are coming, they are also updated, and this existing data is also coming in. And when they are all combined together, you can build and strengthen the classification model. And after that, it sends to the results, and then those damaging elements can be removed. So this is something which can be done in malicious system call sequence. The basic sequence of system calls, they are measured as n-grams. So the n is a number where you try to look at different system calls, and you try to create an n-gram, right? So attackers can bypass a network server and can take entry inside VM. The IDS is deployed at each VM, having better visibility for context information. IDS monitors the runtime behavior of the programs. So the bag of n-gram approach is used, right? So bag of n-grams, a short sequence of system calls is used. The term frequency for each n-gram is stored for every malware defense. So we use the decision tree classifier basically, and then also use the UNM dataset, right? So the second level we have at the hypervisor layer. So this was at the what is called the tenant layer. We saw some level of attacks. Now we have at the hypervisor, you have these two mechanisms here. There's an auditor kind of thing, the classifier kind of thing coming here. Here it is, one is BONG, and then one is SCDE. BONG is bag of n-grams, and SCDE is system call dependency SCDG, what is called secured cyclic directed graph, right? So we can look at those two things, and then you generate what is called the FEM, feature vector matrix, in one place, or the feature transition matrix in another place. In VMguard, it is feature FMR, and in feature vector matrix, and in WAID, it is feature transaction matrix. And finally, you get the classifiers, and the classifiers can be sent, and the data can be fed into the classifier. The classifier will prepare us, and then that can be done. So the classifier will give us the results or generate the alerts, and you can do that. So the basic thing, what actually has happened now is till now what we studied is cloud computing, but what is actually applied is a classifier mechanism, is a machine learning algorithm, right? So the machine learning algorithms are maintained here, right? So these are two levels, that is VMguard and WAID. There are two approaches to solve this issue. So either you can use VMguard, which is based on a system called sequence analysis. There is WAID. There's another paper called WAID, which is based on the what do you call system called transition analysis. Here it is here it is sequence analysis, and here it is transition analysis. So these are the two papers, and one of them is published in IEEE Transactions on Cloud Computing. The other is published in Concurrency and Computation. So both the approaches were accepted, and after that the student has published the paper. This is how a bigger approach, bigger look like. This is how the cloud looks like. From the cloud you have the trace which is coming. From the trace you have we have the system calls which are collected from here. The system calls are sent into the feature selection matrix, and the popular mechanism TF-IDF, the term frequency and inverse document frequency, maybe in information retrieval or some of these things you would have studied. And then you have the feature transition matrix generated, and from there you get the learning and detection mechanism which is generated, the classifier, and from there the classifier will give you the logs and alerts, some of the aspects which have happened. The detailed logs are available and you can do that, right? So this is how it runs. So the other approach is weighted. So it has again the same mechanism. So here infrastructure data comes in, and from the infrastructure data you have given it to the system calls are extracted. From there you send it to the what is called system call directed graph, SCDG. It is generated from the SCDG. You try to compute the edge, the index mapper. You complete that, and then you build a classifier because you have the feature matrix vector, and then based on that you create a classifier, and the classifier will generate the results. And once the classifier gives the analysis, you can try to say the alerts are generated. Similarly, you can also get optimal feature matrix or FPM, so that's what you can do that. Last attack is at the network layer on the virtual network or on the network server, and then you have a slightly bigger diagram here. So you have different packets being analyzed for behavioral analysis, and then we are collecting the logs that are there. So behavior can be consulted, and the traffic validation can also be done. So when you want to do it, so this is how it looks like. In the case of MNPD, this is the malicious network. So this is on the network server. You have one MNPD running, which connects these external bridges and internal bridges. This is an external bridge and this is an internal bridge. And you have these MNPD sitting on the DOM 0, MNPD sitting on the network layer. So at the network layer, direct network is coming at the compute server, or the MNPD will have what is called it will have data on the virtual network, right? So both the things are covered here. So of course both are cloud security in that sense, right? So you have we could do this, and we could do, but then one question: where did we get the data set? Where did we get the data set? And then here I have to make a confession in the sense that a lot of publications when we surveyed did not have an actual cloud setup, and they did not analyze the cloud data. So it gave us a hint that most of them used system call data, which is collected from network layer, and they analyzed using a classifier, and they showed that it is basically equivalent, because the system calls on hypervisor level data will be the same as the system call data on the hypervisors in a cloud environment. So that was a logic, and it was initially I did not agree, but later when I see a lot of publications which have resulted because of this thought process. So many times in research, it is not the bright idea only that matters. Sometimes you need to read a lot of literature where you get a lot of ideas. So as you read more papers, you get more idea. So that's what happened to the student. I was not reading papers. I was only insisting that please get the data, please create a cloud environment, capture the data and then analyze it, and then you can show the results. But fortunately, some data sets were available which are similar to hypervisor data, and then we analyzed them, and then we got the results. And we said, if we are able to get the results on this, then when an actual hypervisor comes in, when an actual attack happens, it is easy to capture that data, right? Similarly, then some fortunate thing also happened, or unfortunate thing happened, where we had another paper on NV Cloud IDS, where we created a network and a hypervisor, both together. So NV Cloud, network and virtualization. So we combined both the things and we created an NV Cloud IDS, right? But then this was accepted, and based on that, we went into another slightly higher model, okay, which is called PSA NetVisor, right? So Program Semantic Aware Intrusion Detection. So it was called PSA NetVisor. So PSA NetVisor had two parts, right? One part was where we are talking about the network layer extraction, and the other part we are talking about the traffic monitoring. And both these things together were using classification again, and the classification gave rise to this model. But unfortunately, we could not publish this model, because what has happened was we did this. First, we did the virtual machine layer, then we did the hypervisor layer, then we created this NV Cloud IDS. But later we went in for a pure network, this thing, MNPD. MNPD results were better than the hybrid model. So unfortunately, we could not present this as a model. We had only, we could not actually call this a model for evaluation in our thesis. It was not included, because usual thing is, when you have at the network layer, then you have at the network layer and hypervisor layer, the network and hypervisor layer combined values must be better, because it's a hybrid model. So usually hybrid models give you better results. So because we could not excuse ourselves from that, we had to follow this this model, and then we had to take this off. Though this was included, this was a conference paper and this was a journal paper. Both of them were not included in the thesis write-up per se, but it was included in the list of publications. So that way we have come to the end. So if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer. If there are no questions, then I would like to thank you for giving me this opportunity to share some of the work. So you can look at some of the papers of my students on cloud security. You can build a story or lineage of various papers, and then you can get an idea of how things are going on, and then you can try to look at that, right? So there are other tools which we have used also. Some of these tools, I will share the slides so you can look at these. NAccess, libVMI, I have discussed, Ether and H injector. These are some of them are papers, and some of them are there, so you can try to look at that, right? I will share the slides through Dr. Sangram. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Any questions from participants? I guess that question is already received from Deep Nicola. What is the difference between distributed network and virtual network?
Distributed network and virtual network, the only difference that we would tend to look at is a distributed network is the same thing that you are having as a what you call you create multiple virtual LANs, right? That can be a good example, right? Or you distribute the network across multiple nodes, right? So when you use virtualization, you can actually connect multiple virtual machines. In fact, to take it a little further, there is something called a virtual switch, right? So please look up Open Virtual Switch, OVS, right? So OVS involves virtualization. It's not a physical switch; it's a virtual switch, but it can move the traffic between multiple virtual machines. So when you are virtualizing the network itself, so when you virtualize the network, you get what is called virtual LANs, right? VLANs. But when you actually create a network or create a networking equipment, which is again virtualized, a software equivalent of the switching mechanism is again a list of protocols, a list of rules that is actually happening in the network. And then when you create a virtual switch, right? So that is where you take the virtualization layer. So that is, I think, that is where it comes.
So any other questions from participants? Hello.
Yeah, I was a little fast. I would apologize for that because I wanted to cover more content. So I will share the slides. You go slowly and then you reread it. Papers you can refer.
Finished. I should thankful to you.
Sir.
Yep. Exact 4:15. So on behalf of the organizing committee, I should thankful to you, sir, for spending your valuable times with us, and for your knowledgeable and interactive sessions with us. I guess that all the participants have achieved some knowledge on this topic, cloud security, and they will make it further sustained in their academic as well as research career. Then I guess that in that situation we will be thankful that our workshop or your expert lecture got success. And now I am also, sir, looking for more interactive session like this in our future events at NIT Sikkim. As well as I would like to invite you physically here whenever this pandemic situation will be over. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And also, I may request you to share your PPT with me so that I can share it with your with the participants all. And at the same time, also, sir, please send me 4 5 MCQ questions that I can prepare the question paper for evaluation purposes with them.
Sure, sure. I'll send the questions. I'll send the slides straight away. Maybe by tomorrow I will send the questions. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, sir. It was quite awesome session. Thanks.
Hello. Hello, participants. Hello. Hello. Participants.
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We are getting the voice, sir.
Is from 4:30 and Dr. Arijit Karati from Taiwan. He will deliver the lecture. So till now 5 minutes is there. If you wish to take break, you may take 5 minutes break.
Fine, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Dr. Karati. Hello, Dr.
Hello,
Odijit.
hello, hello. Am I audible?
It's audible. Hello.
Hello, yeah,
You are still there? Hello.
yeah. Hello.
Am I audible clearly?
Yeah. It's clear.
You are also clearly audible.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Okay. So, participants, I hope all of you are ready for the next session. Hello. All of you are there, I guess.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Manoj Mishra, are you there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes. So, can you show your video, please, for one moment?
Am I visible, sir?
Yes, yes. So,
Nice to see you, sir, after long.
so that's why I have requested you, but you are not showing your face. Okay. Hello. Let me start the next session. Uh, Let me introduce Dr. Odijit. On behalf of the Department of Computer Science and Engineering, National Institute of Technology, Sikkim, it is my privilege and pleasure to welcome Dr. Odijit Karati, Assistant Professor, Department of Computer Science and Engineering from National San Yat-sen University, Taiwan. In this session, deliver an expert lecture on edge security, challenges, and possible cryptographic solutions. Dr. Odijit received his PhD degree from Indian Institute of Technology, Dhanbad, and was associated as a postdoctoral fellow in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering, National San Yat-sen University, Taiwan. Presently, he is working as an assistant professor in the same department at National San Yat-sen University, Taiwan. He was a recipient of 108th Postdoctoral Researcher Academic Research Award from the Ministry of Science and Technology, Taiwan in 2020. His research interests include applied cryptography, cyber security, network communication protection, automotive security, and decentralized data privacy. He has published more than 20 research papers in national and international journals and conference of repute, published by IEEE Transactions, IEEE Journals, Springer, ACM, InterScience and Wiley, etc. His research articles achieved nearly 350 citations by the eminent scientists, academicians, and researchers throughout the world. Now I thank you, Dr. Odijit, to be here and spending your valuable time with us as well as the participants representing 22 states of this country. Thank you, Dr. Odijit. Now I invite you to deliver your expert lecture.
Yeah. Thank you for a nice introduction. So, without wasting time, I just quickly go through the slides. So, let me see. Is it like my screen is visible?
No,
Not
sir.
You just do it present now. At the below right below corner, present now option is there.
Yeah, there are three options like your entire screen, window, and auto.
No, then there is the
So,
three dot. There is the three dot you click there. At the right most corner. Below. Dot is there. You click there, there is option present now.
yeah, I have see. I can see that present now, but why my screen is not shareable?
Then click the present now and then it will show you the options of windows. Select your PPT windows, not PPT, it will be presented. So select the PPT at first. You just open your PPT at first.
Mhm.
Don't,
Yes,
don't minimize that one.
I have opened already.
Open and then click the meet windows also. And then
Okay,
the
just
project mode, then it will show your window, each window, which are not minimized.
here. Is it visible now?
Yes, yes. Now it is. Yes, now it's visible. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Oh, uh, okay. So yeah, thank you everyone. Wait. Is it still visible? Just make sure. Is it visible? One more time. Okay. So a very good afternoon, one and all present here. It's my privilege to be here, and I'd like to thank my the director, moderator, and the program coordinator, and the team who has made this event more beautiful. And I hope that all of you are doing well in this pandemic time. So before to start my presentation, I'd like to share my research area quickly so that if anyone is interested, then we can collaborate some research project or research work in future. So this is my basic research field. I do research in secure computations. So basically my work is based on data encryptions like digital signatures for the authentications and some sign encryption schemes. Those schemes are based on like some modern public key cryptographic techniques like identity-based encryptions, certificate-less cryptography. Okay, right. So the certificate-less cryptographies and attribute-based cryptography and lattice-based cryptography. And basically I designed some scheme based on these modern cryptographic techniques for some technology or the communication protocols for like IoT security, like Internet of Things, IoV, Internet of Vehicles, and IIoT, edge computing systems and blockchain technologies, and the name data networking. So basically in today's talk, we'll be discussing like the edge computing techniques and how edge can enhance the data speed, like data download speeds, and what are the challenges in this edge computing we'll be seeing today. So basically this is my overall research field. So in this today's talk, we'll be discussing these following topics. The first one, like the edge with the cloud is the solution for the interactive and the real-time data process. So in this part, we'll be discussing that what is the architecture of the edge computing models and what are the requirements and what are the challenges we can face in that particular models. And then we'll finally try to find out some security challenges in edge-enabled network. And after that, we'll try to highlight some cryptographic techniques that can solve that problem, or that can answer those problems. And finally, we'll conclude these talks by discussing some concluding remarks and some future research directions. So basically in this talk, it is very simple talk, and maybe I think that I can finish it before the 1 hour. And here we'll just discuss our one work and that work, how we can just incorporate some security features or the functionalities. So those things will be discussed. So in this today's talk, we'll be discussing all the security requirements in terms of network, like network security. So as we can see that edge computing is now getting like it's kind of emerging technologies in nowadays in modern research technologies. So what is this edge computing actually? So if you see, this edge computing is a technological advancement where the computation is done on devices near to the source of the data without sending the data to the cloud. So what is the difference here? That we are not sending the data directly to the cloud. First, we are sending the data to the edge devices or the edge domain or the edge system. And then some data will be forwarded further to the cloud or the data center. Forwarded to the cloud or the data center. So in this basic diagram, what we can achieve? Now we need to know that what is like cloud computing. In the last session already Professor Pilli has said that this is kind of a cloud computing where you can perform some network virtualization and so you can provide some high level computations and decision making powers, techniques, all those things. But the thing is that what is the latency? Like when I send some data from some source to destination, whereas the destination is the cloud, what is the benefit? The benefit is without installing some kind of softwares or gadgets or technology, without incorporating, without having such kind of hardware devices, I can still make our task done. So that's the advantage of cloud. But the thing is that the latency, the data latency, specifically data latency means like how long time it takes to get the data from the cloud. So that's the thing is kind of a data latency. So edge computing as a technological advancement, they came into the picture and they solved this problem. The problem is how to improve the data speed and how long I have to wait in terms of, if we are talking about the cloud computing, for example, I have to wait for 4 milliseconds. And if I consider the edge computing, maybe I have to wait for like 2 milliseconds, something like this. So we reduce the latency. So that's the main advantage of this edge computing. So doing this computing closer to the edge of the network lets organizations analyze important data in real time. Not exactly real time, nearly real time. So we have seen that there are many standards, and IEEE P2805 standard defines some protocols, self-management and cloud edge collaborated data acquisitions on the cloud, the edge computing nodes, in the edge computing nodes. And there are several kinds of mechanisms. So far we can see there are existing models. There are several existing models based on the concept of edge computing in the market. It's kind of like open fog constellation, open IoT fog, edge computing constellation, edge AI suite for advantage. So all these kind of techniques, what they have said, they have just said the data latency, how they have improved the data speed, how much time it takes to download the data with the help of edge computing. But very few techniques or very few models, they have told or they have addressed the security issues. Like what is the security issues here? The security issues specifically like the source is sending the data to the cloud, for example. And the cloud, when another receiver, for example, this is one IoT receiver or the IoT device. Now it is receiving the data from the cloud with the help of edge device. Now, when we are talking about the edge device, that means the data is not directly transmitted to the receiver end, but it is coming via edge layer. So in this edge layer, we'll see what is the edge layer and what is the edge architecture, maybe in the next slides. So, but we have to know what is the advantage of this edge computing. So basically the advantage here in terms of the data speeds. So in the next slide, we can see a cloud-assisted edge computing architecture. So in this actually architecture, this is a typical overview of the edge cloud-enabled edge platform. So if you see the typical cloud-assisted edge computing architecture, we can see that there are 3 different layers. So in these layers, we are not going to discuss like very low-level discussion. We are just discussing the high level, like what is the connections between different layers and how the data has been transmitted from one layer to another layer. So let's see this picture. So if you see this picture clearly, the top layer is the cloud platform. So the top layer is the cloud platform which offers various applications that cover designs, manufacturing, management, and the maintenance. Legacy manufacturing execution systems, that is MES, we all know that this MES and this ERP, that is enterprise resource planning, product lifecycle management, that is also PLM, and the customers relationship management, that is CRM. So these all kind of systems would be migrated to the cloud to reduce the deployment and the operation cost. We know that we don't have such kind of hardware, we don't have such kind of big equipment or high capable equipment. So better to keep that in the cloud side. But the thing is that when you make request or when you want to get some information from the cloud, then it makes sense that the data speed is getting low. We have to wait for a longer time. So now, as a quick part is the intermediate layer that is called edge platform. So the intermediate layer is the edge layer where the server typically monitors. The server typically, the edge layer is typically provides this like edge gateway and edge nodes, where server typically monitors the edge gateway and edge nodes, where the edge gateway actually provides you the data analysis, data filtering, and the monitoring reports. And the edge nodes, if you can see these edge nodes actually much more interactive with the users rather than the clouds. So what is this task of this edge node? So if you see clearly these edge nodes, actually edge node provides the computing features like data process, dynamic reconfigurations, real-time control, and so on. So on the other hand, if you see that edge node is providing such kind of features, whereas edge gateway is not actually interacting with user. Edge gateway is actually interacting with edge node and the cloud. So that is, you can think it's kind of a bridge between the clouds and the edge nodes. And the last layer is very obvious, that is the user layer, or you can think if you are talking about like IoT, Internet of Things environment, so then this user level or user layer, it could be like IoT devices. So better we can say it is a user level, or the user layer is kind of a consumer, like data consumer. So what is the task of this layer? The last layer actually we can see as an edge facility holder or the subscriber. That could be a sender, it could be a receiver, it could be a task executor, and so on. So if you see, this is the 3-layer architecture. In this 3-layer architecture, typically the communication is performed based on MQTT, that is communication protocols, RESTful API protocols, and TCP/UDP kind of communication protocols. So based on these communication protocols, they are interacting with each other. So here we can see in this picture, we can see that MQTT, AMQP, RESTful APIs, all those communication like protocols, they are not only using, we are not only using here, we can also use here. So basically all the communication can be provided based on this kind of communication standard. So this is the high level cloud assisted computing, like edge computing architectures. And if you see into further like more detailed form, then you can see that this edge node and the users like communications is in right rapid way. Like this is like high real life requirements. What does it mean? It means that when a user is being as a data producer, so they want to upload some data in the cloud. So what they are not doing, they are not uploading directly to the cloud, the data to the cloud. It is just sending to the nearest edge node. And the edge node actually process over the data and send the answer to the edge gateway. Whereas the edge gateway takes the answer from not only from the edge node, single edge node, maybe from different edge nodes. And again, it analyzes the data and finally sends the report to the cloud platform. So here, that's why you can see, this is like from user to edge node, the communication is like kind of a high real-time requirements. And if you see the communication between edge gateway and the cloud platform, then you may see that it is like low real-time requirements. It's not very like very frequent communications between edge gateway and the cloud platform. So if you see this architecture, in this architecture, we can see that we are not communicating with cloud each and every time. What we are doing, we are just communicating with edge nodes. And edge node is capable of processing the data at the local, like in the locally, and then it just transmit the data to the cloud with the help of edge gateway. So what is the benefit here? The benefit is, for example, if a user wants to send some data to the cloud, okay, so user is actually user or any sender or any IoT device is sending the data in a rapid manner, like a bulk of data or huge data to the cloud platform. Now, what cloud is doing? Cloud is getting those data, process those data, analyze those data, and then it's just tell me the result. Tell me the actual result or the tally, whatever the data is mine. But the thing is that sometimes it happens that users is sending a bulk of data, whereas only few data are required to make a decision by the cloud platform. Then why to send that unnecessary data to the cloud? Because we know that the cloud server, we typically don't know where is the cloud server. Okay, we just use our 5G connections, we just use our Wi-Fi connections, like low bandwidth connection, communication like medium, and we just send those data to the cloud. So what is the problem here? That unnecessary data, it is possible sometimes we are sending from user level to the cloud level. Okay. And what is the benefit here? If we push edge platform in between this cloud platform and the user, then we can see that those kind of analysis, which data are required to be transmitted to the cloud platform, that can be handled by your edge platform. So in this edge platform, we can see that there are three different entities like the edge server, the edge gateway, and the edge nodes. Okay. So this is the basic overview of your this architecture. Now let's see why this encryption is required and what are the security challenges we have to consider in this kind of architecture. So before moving to the security analysis, so I'd like to discuss some more about the edge computing system. So the next topic is, what is the value of edge computing system? So here you can see that edge computing could assist the cloud in several ways. Firstly, it offers the self-management and a perfect curve of local computing, storage, networking, and virtualization resources. It could also distribute and execute the strategy made by the cloud, including the managing devices, managing resources, managing connections. Those all can be performed by the edge computing. So that is like the value, like first one. The second one is from the data perspective. The edge nodes are used for the data acquisition. Secondly, we can see that the edge nodes are used for the data acquisition and performing the preliminary data analysis verifications based on some predefined rule. Now, who can define those rules? User can define the rules, or you can see the edge server also can define the rules. So that comes into the picture as a value, like the second advantage you can see. So as a supplement of cloud, edge computing provides the interoperability and the real-time data processing. Also, it can help for the self-optimizations, which sometimes are not focused by the cloud. Like if we want for like self-optimization, how we can provide? Should you consult with the cloud each and every time? No. But using edge, you can do that thing. The third benefits you can think, that is the maximum resource utilizations. The maximum resource utilizations can be achieved by the cloud edge systems or cloud edge models. Specifically, the data acquisition, the pre-processing, calibration, conversion can be completed in real time, nearly real time, not exactly real time, nearly real time, or using like edge devices without sending the massive data, to some clouds, or you can think of like industrial clouds. So how we can get those benefits, how we can enhance, how we can achieve those advantages. So for this, we have some requirements. We have to follow those 3 requirements, the basic 3 requirements to achieve these targets. And the first requirement is that ability to implement automatic control. So while real-time constraints are assured, it should be enhanced with automatic fault detection, information processing, and the operation control technique. The second requirement in this edge computing system, that is, instead of processing data using a data center or a cloud, data mining and the analysis would have purely relied on like edge computing resources. It will enhance the efficiency by shortening the communication delay, between the edge and the cloud. So that is kind of a latency. And the last requirements that data optimization. So lastly, the data optimization majorly relies on data mining, knowledge discovery, and specifically it should provide the data filtering capabilities. So that is very important, data filtering capabilities at the edge layer. So how they can perform the data filtering? Maybe they can use some buffering concept, the storage concept, so that we need not to consider any unnecessary communications between edge to cloud. So first you filter out all those data, huge set of data, bulk data, and then you get some answer, get some result, and then sends to the cloud for the further process. So these are some requirements we can see. So how, naturally the next question and the very important question is how we can meet those requirements. So the very easy answer is we can meet those requirements using different ways. First is the communication resources. So in order to realize what the security challenges we have to follow, first we have to know what are those requirements and how to mitigate those requirements. That's why we are seeing how to meet those kind of 3 requirements which we have discussed. So the first one is your communication resource. So in this communication resource, edge computing node or simply edge node is not only need to ensure the data completeness, but also it needs to ensure the deterministic transmission latency with flexible deployments. So for this, we have some different kind of like many modern like communication protocol like TSN, SDN. TSN is stands for like time sensitive networking. SDN stands for like software defined networking. So these are kind of very well-known like resources, communication protocols that we can use to achieve this achieve our 3 basic requirements. The next one is the computing resources for heterogeneous computing devices. So with the growth in complexity of computing model, so why we are saying that complexity, increasing complexity of the computing models, because we now know that, for example, whatever the data I really require, more than that volume, sometimes I transfer or transmit into the clouds or into some other devices or other storage space. So the thing is that nowadays we are much more dependent on the digital data, right? So in the digital data, so the problem is how long we'll keep on producing those data, or whether if we are producing such kind of huge data, are we providing the proper security of those data? Like what kind of securities, for example, like the confidentiality of data. So we'll discuss all those security challenges, like what are those security challenges. So here we can see that with the growth in complexities of computing models and the data structures, so computing models like ML, like machine learning, data structures from the edge sides, heterogeneous models, combining the sensors, controller, gateway, and even the local clouds are essential for your balancing the performance, minimizing the operations cost, energy consumptions, and improving the portabilities. So when we are talking about like cyber security, for example, in this talk, we have already seen, like in today's talk, in the first talk, we have seen like the basic cryptographic techniques, like the Diffie-Hellman algorithm and RSA algorithm, and some other concepts. And also we have discussed in this event, we have seen that is the second lecture is based on the cloud. But the thing is that when you're talking about security, security is not only to provide the confidentiality of the data or securing the data and keeping those like encrypted data in the storage space. Rather than you have to think in the network point of view. Like when you are sending some data, how this data is being like traversed from one entity to another entity, and what kind of security measurement you are providing. Okay. Not only to store the data in the encrypted form. So these are some these are some kind of techniques. So these are the second point. The third resource is kind of a storage resources. If you are thinking that you can implement some edge computing systems, make sure you have some sufficient storage. It's not kind of IoT device storage, because we know that IoT device has low computation capabilities, low storage capabilities, maybe low energy, like it's a lightweight device, right? But when you are talking about the edge devices, like edge computing system, when you are like trying to build some kind of system, you have to consider much more higher computation capable devices than your lightweight IoT devices. So that's the storage resources comes into the picture, because you want to filter out those unnecessary data, right? We have already discussed in this picture, like in this architecture, right? The user is transmitting a huge set of data or huge volume of data to the edge node. Now, edge node needs to process those data. So in order to process those data, we need to store some data locally, right? So that's the storage resource. So here, if you see that storage resource is very essential for the edge devices to trace the information from the sensor. From massive massive data must be collected from the sensor, right? And after collected, you have to filter out, you have to buffer, like the store, prior to further analyze either on the cloud or on the edge devices. So storage is another requirement. The last requirement is, which is kind of not very essential, but it is quite effective. That is the virtualization. So the last resource is called as like virtualization technology. So virtualization into embedded resources could reduce your reduce the development and the deployment cost. We know, we have already seen in the last session, like the cloud computing we have seen, right? So the deployments and the development cost through the application migration between the different hardware and the software environments. So overall, we can see that edge computing provides some new challenges. Like why edge computing is actually a very promising technology. Why not? It came up in the earlier years. The question is, edge computing is not a new technology. Edge computing is a common technology. It has been proposed only maybe like long years before. But thing is that why it is now is in craze, like it is kind of like very popular. The reason is the intelligence power or intelligence technique or intelligent algorithm in such a way we are nowadays incorporating in the edge devices, so that like the edge devices nowadays is becoming much more smarter. And that's the reason why we are nowadays not depends on only the cloud computing, because we know that when we are transmitting the data, or whenever you are asking some data from the cloud, it is much more your queries and whatever the access control, it is much more towards your cloud, like towards your destination. But when you are talking about like the cloud computing, your access control or the asking queries and whatever the queries you have, that is only near to the user region. like much more closer to the edge devices or edge controller region. So here we can see that it is, although it is kind of a very new or not very new technologies, but it is very getting popular nowadays. So naturally the challenges, there are many challenges in these in such kind of systems. So here we can see that how we can send the data in a reliable method or reliable way, so that the data can be only stored in a safely manner. It can be analyzed also, even though it is encrypted, and also we can take the decision with less or lesser time, with low latency, like it's not the high latency. So what do I mean? Like, what is the data handling? So data handling, I try to mention here, is considered as the data storage and inward outward data transmission. So that's the basic introduction about the edge computing. So let's see some like practical scenarios. So far we have seen many descriptive discussion. We have some discussion. So now let's see some security perspective scenarios in the edge computing model. So before to understand this edge computing model, you have to understand what is going to happen in this kind of architecture. So this is my user, this is my edge layer. I'm talking about in terms of high level overview, like high level design. So this is like my edge layer, and this is my cloud layer. I'm sending some data from here to here, but the data is not being transmitted directly from the user layer or the subscriber layer to the cloud layer. What it is doing is it is somehow processed by the edge devices. So that is the sending part. Now, when we are talking in terms of like consumer point of view, now we want to download the data with the help of edge devices. So what is the edge devices actually? Edge devices is very common. It can be a router, it can be like Wi-Fi router, it could be also viewed as an edge device. You can also see like some kind of a gateway also you can consider as an edge device. So edge device is nothing very specific one. So you can customize any device as your edge device. Okay. So the thing is that when we are talking about in terms of data consumer, like the consumer or the downloader or the receiver who is downloading some data from the cloud, then what is the scenarios? This is much more important. That's why we are discussing. Rather than uploading the data into the cloud, it is not that much like our concern than the situation where the receiver is downloading some file. So when a receiver is downloading some file from the cloud with the help of edge device, when we see the edge user is trying to download the file from the cloud with the help of the edge devices, then what the edge devices is doing? Edge devices is simply performing Control F, Control C, and Control V. As we know in computer science, right? Very easy. Control F is for find, Control C is for copy, and Control V is for paste. So if you see F, that means that edge devices is trying to find my encrypted data. Now, those data, it is possible sometimes that it is not available in the local edge devices. It is here somewhere in the cloud. So it needs to copy the file from the cloud to the edge layer, and later on, edge devices is controlling V, some kind of you are forwarding the data from the edge layer to the user layer. So that's why it's very interesting. Control F, Control C, and Control V. Using these, also you can think of the edge computing systems or the communication directions, like how the edge devices is helpful to get the data with lesser latency, with lesser data latency. So in this picture, if you see, we can see that here there are many cloud, right? we can see there are many clouds. Some cloud could be a public cloud, cloud could be a private cloud. We have seen in the last session, and the hybrid cloud. So we are not going to much more detail into this part. We are just saying that we have some cloud environments, or we have some different clouds, many clouds, right? Now, since we know that we have like many clouds, so here we have taken some example of different clouds. My mouse is not visible. Okay. So here we can see that there are different kind of clouds like Google clouds, Microsoft cloud, Amazon cloud. So there are different kind of clouds. Now, for example, my data owner is now transmitting some data into any of this cloud, and the user, what is doing as a data consumer, it knows that which data has been uploaded to the cloud, but the user doesn't know where is my data, whether it is in Google cloud, whether it is in Microsoft cloud, or whether it is in Amazon cloud. The question is, can the data consumer securely download those data and use those data with the help of edge computing scenarios? So the answer is, it is possible, but there is no straightforward any algorithm. So we have to design by ourselves, we have to think, we have to consider some assumptions, and based on that, we can build some kind of algorithm, a cryptographic algorithm to achieve those kind of functionalities. So what I said here, we discussed here that we have multiple clouds, several edge nodes, and multiple data consumers, or the multiple receivers. Now we know that these are the three-layer architecture. Now in this three-layer architecture, there are many kind of attackers, right? So we can categorize these kind of attackers as your malicious and the semi-honest attacker. So if I see this malicious attacker, so in this malicious attacker, what does it mean? It means that it is fully vulnerable. We cannot trust at all. But when we are talking about like the semi-honest attacker, the semi-honest attacker is partially trusted. Like we are not trusting fully, but we have some belief that the data can be safe under this with this entities. But for malicious, we cannot say that it is fully safe. We just assume that my data has been compromised. So we have to design such kind of protocols which can protect your data against your malicious devices, at the same time against your semi-honest devices. Now you can ask me like, who could be like your semi-honest devices, or who could be your semi-honest entities? So for the semi-honest entities, you can think of the cloud systems can be a semi-honest entity. Why we are saying this is semi-honest? Why not we are saying this is fully honest? Or why not we are saying like malicious entities, fully vulnerable entities? We are saying it is partially trusted because the cloud, if you see the cloud, for example, we have like Dropbox, we have like Google Drive, so all are like clouds, right? Like Microsoft, like OneDrive. So we have many clouds, right? So we have like user ID and the password. So we keep our data here, there, and just share some link of those data to some other user. So other user gets those link and download those data. But what is the belief, or how long you can trust that your OneDrive or Google Drive cannot decrypt those data, or cannot get those data, or cannot read those data? So we are partially trusting those entities, such as maybe you have heard of this, the term is cloud service provider, right? So in this cloud service provider, this is kind of a server you can think of the whole network of the cloud. You can think the cloud server provider is kind of a central authority of your whole cloud. So even though we think of like Dropbox, it is sometimes secure, and your OneDrive is also sometimes secure, but we cannot fully trust. So those kind of entities, it could be like your semi-honest category. or the semi-honest adversary. So you can think of. So that we can see at the cloud layer, right? At the cloud level, or we can say at the cloud level. Now, if you are talking about the edge layer, in this edge layer, can we see any malicious devices, or can we see any semi-honest device? Also, the same answer as we have made in the cloud section. The same thing, we can see that here there is some possibilities to have some malicious adversary. Now, what do we mean by that? It means that whatever the data, whatever the Wi-Fi router you are connecting, for example, you are getting some Wi-Fi access through some Wi-Fi router, but you don't know whether this router is like trusted or not. So in security, there is a concept that when you don't know someone is secure or not, you must say that is insecure. You must say that is insecure. Until and unless you know that system is fully secure, you cannot say that is secure. So since I don't know, I have a doubt. I have a doubt like whether this device is secure or not. To make ourselves more like make ourselves safe, like we assume that edge devices also are fully vulnerable or malicious devices. Now, if we see the edge layer, edge user or the data consumer or the subscribers, the edge subscribers, actually it could be either the semi-honest or it could be your malicious devices. So take an example, like for example, I am the edge subscriber, I am using the edge like services, you are also using some edge services, we are friends to each other. So maybe you can think that my data is safe. So whatever you are placing whatever you are typing the passwords, make sure you believe that I am not looking into this part actually. So you can think that is kind of a semi-honest friend like this, and also whom you don't know. That kind of entities also can be present as a subscriber, edge subscriber. So in this picture, now as a whole, if you try to see that this picture is much more realistic in real life, where there are many clouds. We are not talking about a single cloud. We are just discussing the high level discussions. There are many clouds and there are many Wi-Fi routers, for example. And these Wi-Fi routers are my edge nodes. So can we access those edge nodes or the edge devices and get our data, cloud data, in such a way that although we have like semi-honest or malicious like devices, my data is secure? Like, can we ensure that thing? So that's the challenge we can see here. That's a challenge. We can see that how the data owner or the data producer, you can also say, like how a data owner ensures the data should not be disclosed except the designated data consumer. So what do you mean by this designated? So this is also like a technical term. Designated means, suppose I am trying to send some data for a group of users. So make sure that only those people who are inside that group, they can only decrypt this data or access this data. That is kind of a multicasting, right? So that's from there, this concept came, that is the designated data consumer. So can we protect this? Can we protect our data? So what are the security requirements in this kind of edge computing scenarios? So what this scenario we have discussed? We have discussed there are many clouds, many edge nodes, there are many communication protocols, and there are many users. So in this particular part, what are the security requirements? So some of the security requirements are very common and known to you, but still I am discussing those kind of security challenges. So the security challenges, if you see the edge computing model, according to the Gartner 2018 report, the 75% of enterprises will adopt distributed processing without a data center or cloud by 2022. So edge security starting from now is an exciting and focused topic, like how to provide the security against the vulnerable devices which are who is actually who is actually getting our data. So let us consider the same security model. So we have seen that the Gartner has already predicted in 2018, report, they have predicted that 75% of the enterprises will adopt the distributed processing without even a data center or even a cloud. So there actually you can use the edge computing system. So what are the security challenges? Some of the security challenges are very fundamental, like the first security challenge is very fundamental challenges. It is kind of a data confidentiality. So the data confidentiality against who? Against the user or against what? So the data confidentiality against the cloud and the edge devices. So what does it mean here? That means the data should not be disclosed to any of the unintended user or the devices. We have to make sure that we can design such kind of algorithm. So the question is whether we can design any one-to-one encryption for this kind of edge computing model, or whether it is effective. What could be your answer? Like what could be your observations? What is your views? Like whether I can use only the RSA algorithm, or whether I can use any one-to-one encryption like Elgamal encryption algorithm. So what is your views? So can I get some answer from that for that? Yeah, so may I get some answer? Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so my question is that we can see, right, this data confidentiality. We all know what do you mean by data confidentiality. So I'm not discussing all those parts. So we have in the last session, we have also seen the RSA algorithm, right? Diffie-Hellman key exchange algorithm. So all those encryption algorithm is for one-to-one encryption mechanism, one-to-one encryption method, right? But in this edge computing, for example, we have seen this kind of architecture, okay? So in this architecture, what is your views or what is your observation? Can we use one-to-one encryption for this kind of edge computing model? So what is your views? How much time I left? I have. No. Am I audible? I don't understand. Whether is it audible? My voice is audible for others.
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes, sir. So, could you please tell me how much time left?
You have 5-10 minutes. 5-10 minutes. How much?
Oh, 10 minutes. Okay, then I'll quickly just summarize because I have some slides and to complete. Okay, so no more further questions. So I just quickly tell you what is the problem here. The problem is here that one-to-one encryption is not a feasible solution to ensure the data confidentiality in these edge computing systems. So what are those distributed algorithms could be used in this model? We'll see shortly. So the next one is the access control. So this one is very important because the edge computing devices or the edge layer is actually a bridge between the user and the cloud, right? And the cloud. So the access control, or specifically the fine-grained access control, how we can ensure in this system, that could be also a security challenge. The next one is the authenticity. So the authenticity also, we know that is the user's ID, passwords, whether the user is valid or not. But the thing is that when we are talking about this kind of authenticity, here the authenticity is little different. The authenticity here, why it is little different, that is, it has two phases. While the data uploader or the data producer is producing the data, that is the one scenario, and the second scenario is when the user is downloading the data. So both the time we have to ensure the authenticity, right? However, the most important thing is that when a data consumer is downloading your data, whether that consumer can can be authenticated by the edge device or not, can be authenticated by the edge devices or not. So those kind of things you can see. And the next security challenge is the subscriber management. So what do you mean by this here, the subscriber management? This is nothing but your user revocations. So we know that users revocation is like indispensable ingredient in the cyber security. So user revocation means that when a user is no longer a member of our network, in our network, then we have to cancel the user's registration. So how to manage those how to provide the subscriber management, management. So that is kind of another security challenges, that is user revocation. The next security challenges is low latency. So we know that if we try to provide some have some low latency, we have to store the data, some data at the edge level. So how we are storing those data and how to provide the security of the stored data, that could be another security challenge. The last one is kind of a not very strong security challenge, but also it can produce a it can give me more robust protocol, like how to omit such kind of constraint where prior knowledge of the file location is at most important. So what does it mean? If we try to see the computational model, here you can see that the data is stored for maybe in Google or maybe in Amazon, for example. So whether the producer really needs to care about whether the data is stored in the cloud? No. What is the much more concern is like which data you want to download, not where the data is stored already. So that also kind of a security challenge. So these are my security challenges, listed security challenges. We are working on these kind of security challenges in here in my lab. So now let's see what are the possible cryptographic techniques. So I think I have some less time, so I'll just quickly summarize those parts. So what is possible like cryptographic techniques? So we know that to encrypt some large volume data or the file, we always have to follow the symmetric encryption, right? And for encrypting the data using your symmetric encryption, we need symmetric key, and that key can be encrypted further using the public key cryptographic techniques. And those public key cryptographic techniques can be broadly classified as like attribute-based crypto systems, key aggregate crypto systems, proxy encryption systems, or like signatures. So those are like your public key cryptographic techniques which you can use in your edge computing systems. So that is kind of your distributed system. Here, this kind of public key cryptographic techniques are much more useful. And also content retrieval, also our main motivation, like how to ensure that we can retrieve encrypted data. So for that, you can perform searchable encryption. And we know that searchable encryption is the token-based encryption. And to store the data securely or authentically, or whatever you say, you can use the hashing technique. So these are the possible techniques you can incorporate in your edge computing model to make it more secure. So these are some basic overviews of those techniques. The 4 techniques we have discussed: attribute-based encryption, key aggregate cryptographic techniques, like proxy re-encryptions, and the NDA. So attribute-based encryption, probably I think maybe you have like a better explanation by Professor Mohudas Gupta. So I'm not going to discuss all those parts. So what is this attribute-based encryption? Attribute-based encryption is basically the data is being encrypted based on some set of attributes rather than only a single identity of a user. The next one is the key aggregate crypto systems. In this key aggregate crypto systems, there is my downloader, the data owner. The data owner actually creates several large volume of the files and they keep it classified based on their file type. For example, this is movie type. So all the movie related file will be classified as the movie. All the audio file will be classified as the audio and so on. So in this way, data owner actually is performing classifications. So these are some cryptographic techniques. So I'm not going to discuss in detail due to short time. So this is the proxy re-encryptions. And finally, the NDN, that is the name data network. And this name data network actually provides me the anonymous communication or provide the anonymity. So these kind of things, so these are some techniques which are much more useful in these edge computing models. One of our observation, and that is the last slides probably for this today's discussion. So this is actually our some result of our work, which is based on this cloud assisted edge computing model. So there we have seen that there is some Netflix video. For example, we are trying to download some Netflix video from directly to from the clouds. And that is the one scenario. And another scenario is we are trying to download the Netflix video with the help of edge devices. Both the situation we have provided the proper security. So we have seen that in sequential and parallel mode, both the time, using edge devices, we can get the data much easy. Like the low latency, we have achieved. Here you can see this is the cloud system here in the picture 2, that is over the cloud computing. The red line, it is actually showing that direct cloud access. That means we are getting the file or the video file directly from the cloud. And the second, these two, like the blue and the green, line, you can see that is using the cache data, like edge caching without edge caching, all those download speeds. So in this picture, we are I'm trying to discuss that we have achieved actually low latency, and also we have provided some set of security requirements like confidentiality, anonymous authenticity, and the download speed, and no requirement of prior knowledge of your file locations, all those parts. So these are some basic overview of our experiment, and that's all for this presentation, and that's all for my about this edge computing, the edge security. So thank you everyone for your attention. So that's all my presentation. So thank you. So if you have any doubt, you can mail me or you can ask me also later on or during this presentation time also.
Thank you, Dr. Arijit.
My pleasure.
Any questions I see in chat box?
I have a question, sir.
Yeah. So I can read the message. So I got the one chat message that when a subscriber is downloading data from the cloud server through the help of edge devices, how the source data authenticity is maintained. So source data authenticity we can maintain using NDN concept, like name data network or HDN kind of concept. We know that in NDN, that is name data networking, where we can provide the source authenticity, data authenticity. Am I correct? Like, is it the question? Sarmishta Adhikari? Hello?
Mr. Hello. Mr.
Maybe there is some network problem.
Network issue is there from her side, I guess. So any more questions from participants? Mr. is there? Hello.
Hello, sir. Hello.
That is
Hello.
asking,
Hello.
do you have
Hello.
listened the answer given by Dr. Arijit? Are you satisfied?
Yes, sir. Actually,
Ye-
sir, I want to know in named data networking,
Hmm.
there is a publisher which gives uploads the data for the subscriber. Means subscriber
Yes, yes,
download the
yes, yes.
data from the publisher itself, but the publisher is responsible for collecting the data from different content producers, and in that case also there is a challenge to maintain the authenticity of the source, means content source. The
Yeah.
same thing arises in that case also in case of edge computing, because the edge devices are in the middle of the subscriber and the data
Hmm.
server. So how it is maintained in that case also?
Like
I
you
want.
are, yeah, thank you for your observation. It's a nice one. So you are actually primarily asking about the how to ensure the data authenticity, like source data authenticity. So for example, as you said, that is
Yes,
correct. In
sir.
M data networking, so there are, we know that there are two different kind of packets, right? So one is called interest packet and another one is called data packet, right? So the receiver or the
Yes,
consumer
sir.
actually ask for the data using your interest packet, right? And when that packet is matched with some, for example, the Indian node, or for example, the data is present in any of these Indian nodes, or like in the network, then that particular data packet is being actually forwarded to the consumers, right? So in this way, we can provide the anonymity, right? And the authenticity we cannot directly provide we cannot directly provide using your like typical Indian constructions. For that, you have to design some kind of algorithm where you have to keep like for example some producers information you have to keep stored inside the data, so that you can also ensure we can check the authenticity of like source data authenticity, as you said.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So any more questions from participants?
Hello, Mr. Arajit. I have a question.
Yeah, sure, please.
Hello, sir. Yeah. From this edge computing point of view, so what is the current trend or the current growth which is happening in the industry now?
In the
What is your focus? What should be our focus for 2000 by 2022? You said edge computing is going to take over. So, what percentage of people, what percentage of companies have started implementing? I mean, at what stage is that? Is my bottom line question.
Yeah, so the thing is that we have already discussed in the presentation itself that there are different kind of many. Is it visible? Oh, okay, it's okay. So we have already discussed that there are different kind of modeling or the computing model based on like edge computing concepts companies have provided, right? I have mentioned the slides, one maybe the first slides I have mentioned there. So there I have provided some details of the companies. So they are trying to introduce the edge computing scenarios over the cloud computing scenarios. The basic question, as you said, that actually my observation is edge computing will not take over this cloud computing. Cloud computing always will be there, but the edge computing will act as a helper. Like it will help the cloud computing to analyze the data, to process the data, to customize the devices. All those things the edge computing will do. So I don't have, because this edge computing is very recent and there are no much more research paper articles. Although the research is going on, there are not much more research papers are proposed there. By the 2022, what I can expect, that is my personal opinion, that most of the companies, they will consider the cloud, not only that, because we have seen that private cloud, public cloud, different cloud. So my perception, my thoughts is there should be some single clouds or very few clouds, and more companies will much more focused on the edge computing system platform, where the edge nodes itself will save the data locally to enhance the speed, like the data latency, to reduce the data latency. So that's my personal opinion.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And I would also, as Dr. Sangram Ray asked for the 4 questions, so I'll be sending those questions with some choices answer, as you said, maybe by tomorrow. Will it be okay? Yeah, will it be okay?
Yes, yes.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
That we can do. And one more request from here, Dr. Arijit. You kindly
Yeah.
please send your PPT to me so that I can share that with all participants. And also please send me approx 10 questions, MCQ questions for evaluation purpose. From your
10th question? 10 questions?
10 MCQ questions for
Okay,
evaluation
sure. I'll be sharing with you.
from the content of your PPT.
Sure. I'll be sharing this.
Okay. So thank you, Dr. Arijit, for spending your valuable time here. Okay.
Thank you everyone for giving me the opportunity.
More session from you in future.
Sure.
Kind of workshop or program, and also for our benefit of our students here. Okay.
Sure.
So
Sure.
thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you.
Have a good day. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. Same to you. Take care.
Sangramji, I have a question.
Hello. Yes, Subramaniam ji. Hello.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. No, was there any feedback link sent yesterday after the session?
Sorry, I am not getting. Feedback.
No, I received.
I already informed all participants that as per the OTOL guidelines, the feedback options will be available in your application portal, in OTOL portal, on the last